We've been blessed with another week, another 24 hours, and I know it's our absolute pleasure to come here and welcome you to the AM show on Joy News, your home of independent, fearless, incredible journalism. How are you feeling, Benjamin?
Well, it's a new morning, it's a new week. We just start.
Yeah.
I mean, God has given us life health. We're here to do what we do best.
God.
How was your weekend?
Oh, it was smooth. I had a very relaxing weekend.
Okay.
Yes.
Reminds me of something from Sade.
Yeah?
You remember Sade?
Tell me about
The
it.
musician?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you about this later. But thank you for joining us at the start of another week. Let's quickly settle for what you can expect on the AM show this morning. Now, we'll start with the news with Sweetie Abochi, and then right after that, the news review. Dr. Sharif Mahmoud Khalid, he's Associate Professor in Accounting and Finance. He will join us for that, followed by AM Sports with the usual culprit, Muftar Nabila Abdullahi.
And you know that right after that, we get into our big stories. Now, for today, we have a conversation with the former Auditor General, Yao Domelevo. Also, as part of the build-up to unveiling her vision for justice delivery in Ghana, dubbed Leading Justice, we look at this novelty and what it means for justice delivery, accountability, and rule of law for this nation.
Well, of course, that has to do with the Chief Justice and some new measures she's bringing to bear as far as the service of justice is concerned. But we also have an interview with Phytotech on Prostate 60. They've been on the show before. They will be back today. How well do you know your prostate? That walnut-sized organ in your body. If you're a man, that is not a woman. Women don't have prostates. But these are some of the things you can expect on the show this morning. But there's more.
Yes, so you want to stay with us, and we'll open the phone lines for you to join the conversation on all the topics that we'll be touching on. But welcome aboard the AM show. I'm particularly excited this morning. I'll tell you why after. Let's get into the news.
I need to find out. Oh, but before we go, did
Yeah.
you suffer any power outage over the weekend?
I did. I had to.
I thought you had escaped. Anyway, here we go. We're starting with exactly that for the news. We'll be right back.
This is the AM News on Joy News. Now, let's get into the details. Call it Doomsaw or Doom CSA, as the Energy Minister Matthew Poku-Prempeh chooses to call it. There is no denying that the ongoing intermittent power supply is taking a toll on many households and businesses. In the first part of Joy News Doomsaw Diaries, Kenneth Jesse explores the devastating effects Doomsaw is having on printing industry, which has led to some workers in the sector being told to stay home.
This building houses a cluster of printing shops. On a regular working day, they print everything from receipts, brochures, to calendars. But these days, they print almost nothing. This shop has a minimum of 4 workers. But now, barely 2 employees show up at work. The reason? Intermittent power supply, popularly known as Doomsaw. This job requires uninterrupted electricity supply to function. But with the recent power outages, the shop has been rendered redundant.
When the people bring their jobs here like this, they want it fast. So you don't have any reason to delay them. But since Monday up till now, we don't have light here. So all the work that they brought, they have to take them back. So at the end of the day, you spend money for transport, you come and sit down here, you have to eat. You know, as for stomach, it doesn't know whether you are working or not. So you come, you eat, and you go back home. So it's not helping us at all. The business itself was down because most of the things are being printed from China now. Okay, so the small stuff that we are getting here, with just Doomsaw, everything is now zero.
For some time now, we've been having this on and off, this lights out. And moreover, the business is not booming as it used to. So the little that, we have to do, when the lights goes off, then maybe the client also feels like he needs to deliver the job the same day. So when the lights go off like this, sometimes we try to persuade them to give us, let's say, some hours, maybe a day. But most of the times, it fails us because we normally tell them they should give us a time. They will go. By the time they will come back, the lights are still not back. Then you realize that they will just come and carry the job away.
Just like most Guineans, these workers are calling for a timetable. They say a load shedding timetable will help them plan their work schedule so they are able to meet clients' deadlines and do not lose contracts due to unexpected power outages.
I think that should be the best way, because if I know that today, Tuesday, I won't be having light here, I won't bother myself to take car from a far place and come and sit down just to come and sit down here. I will have prepared or organized myself better for it. If I know I will be having a work to do, maybe in the night, I will arrange myself to come and do it in the night. So by the morning, when the light is off, then I will go and rest. So the timetable is very necessary to be very helpful.
Oh, how about the timetable? You need a timetable to schedule our this thing. If there is timetable, you know that tomorrow there is no light. You can stay home and manage it. Maybe the money you use it to take car, you can manage it. And the next day, you know that the next day the light will come.
But do they have a standby generator that will, at least, keep their business running in the event of doomsday? I asked.
Yeah, actually, we're having one. Since for some time when the lights came to stability, yeah, we actually took the generator away because we don't have space here. And where the generator is, the children, most of the times, they normally play around, set fire and so on. So the other time it was about to, catch fire. So my boss took it away, thinking maybe now the lights are stable.
4 stores away is another shop that performs a similar function. Not as big as the previous one, but of equal importance. This is where they stitch the books and other printed materials before they are sent to their destinations. But the recent power outages mean they will have to sometimes stitch the books manually.
We are using this machine for the stitching. You used to stitch this book. If there is no light, you can't use it. Yesterday, they made light off around dawn 4:35 that way. Light came around 12 o'clock this afternoon. So that you can't work. This one is printed. If there is no light, you can't print. After printing, they'll bring it to you. Here is the finishing side. If there is no light, there is nothing going on. So,
the last time I came here, I saw a number of people, but today you are the only person.
Because of the light was since yesterday, this afternoon, 12 o'clock before the light came, because of that, they are not. Yes.
The impact of intermittent power outages on these businesses has been dire. Some staff have been told to stay home for the time being. The rest that show up either sleep, read a book, or engage in an activity or two to while away time. Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
That's the first of our series, Domelevo Diaries. Be on the lookout for the second part. Now, moving on, Deputy Ranking Member on Education Committee in Parliament, Clementa Park, says there must be a deliberate attempt to favour the less privileged on the award of scholarships.
As a society, we ought to make it a priority to provide avenues for the less fortunate to be able to rise, thrive, and contribute. If not for greed, selfishness, cronyism, blatant corruption, and abuse of office and political power, how can anyone justify a situation where the son of a farmer in Fumbisi who earns less than 500 Ghana cedis per annum should be denied a scholarship in favor of a sitting minister of state? So regardless of how you cut, spice, and dice it, It is simply wrong. And that is why I've argued that in all of this, we ought to be looking at a legislative framework that should regulate and define and establish who, how scholarships are awarded. And until we do that, and also extricate the scholarship secretariat from the direct control of the executive, from the office of the president, I am sorry to say that this that we are talking about
In other stories, the recent over 400% increase in passport application fees has sparked widespread public outcry. The flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has acknowledged the legitimate concerns raised by citizens. He indicated that the current application process is burdensome and nurtures corruption. However, Dr. Bawumia assured the public that his government is committed to streamlining the process. One major step in this direction is the integration of Ghana card details with the passport system. This move aims to make the application process more straightforward and minimize human interaction, thereby curbing corruption. He expressed confidence that the new system will address the concerns raised by citizens and lead to a more efficient and transparent passport application process.
The higher prices for passport now, even with that, and also the delays of getting passports. And also my dream.
I have thought about the higher cost and delay in the passport application process in the country and intend to implement a new system if elected.
And then Ghana for over 17.6 million Ghana card. And yes, sir. Over 17.6. You get to say Obia or Daimwa or Ghana card.
The current system nurtures corruption because of human contact in the application process. But with the new system, this will be eliminated.
Questions are passport forms. And I make say all those questions should also be on the Ghana card. And all the questions you need, information now you need for a passport.
We are going to make it simple by synchronizing data of your Ghana card with the passport system. You do not have to go through another registration processes again.
Separate passport with a passport form if you have a Ghana card. So, Ghana card, you go to the portal and put in
all
your
you need
Ghana
to do
card
is to go to the portal
number
and pay your fees.
fee.
The passport
and wait
system.
for the passport
We just have to extract your details
because
from the Ghana card and produce your passport.
The biometrics, pictures, you don't need to go through another process to go and apply for a passport when you have a Ghana card.
This new system will remove corruption from the system.
You just get very simple. Your name, your Ghana card ID, confirm your address and whatever, where you should deliver the passport. And then you pay, and then that is it. It will bring you your passport. It's going to be the simplest passport application that we've ever had in the history of Ghana.
The Ghana Union of Traders Association is alleging that some powerful persons have succeeded in creating cliques at the ports to deliberately frustrate them in the clearance process and auction their goods at peanuts to their benefits. The association said the practice, if allowed to continue, will gradually collapse local businesses. President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, raised these concerns, among other challenges, confronting the trade industry when the association met. Flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on his bold solutions for the future's stakeholder engagement.
The existing auction system should be looked at or should be looked into. It's very important that the rate at which we auction people's goods for lack of ability to clear their goods in time is very pathetic, especially when it is not being sold to the person who actually brought the goods. whether it is being given to him at the same duty that is charged him. Normally, it is sold at a pittance, and then it is being done by people who have formed a clique, and they are like a highness, sharks, and vultures hanging around our goods, waiting for the least opportunity to say that the expiry time has come for them to prey upon our capital. This is very frustrating, and it kills the spirit of the Ghanaian people.
However, Dr. Bawumia assured that the introduction of his flat tax for businesses will curtail the illegalities if he's elected.
Flat rate of tax. A 10%, a 10%.
I am concerned about the current challenges traders are having in the country, especially duties at the port.
It's that simple. Calculating the tax.
So what I will do in my government is to ensure that we introduce a flat rate for all businesses in the country.
With the new tax system, the flat.
There'll be a tax amnesty for you to start all over. I will also ensure that the tax system reduces human contact to avoid corruption.
It creates room for corruption. And yes, sir. So,
let me take you now to Tamale, where the Chief Executive Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku, has disclosed that the hospital recorded an increase in maternal mortality in 2023. According to him, the increase in the cases is as a result of referral to the hospital. The CEO disclosed the 2023 performance review meeting in Tamale.
The performance review is the 50th anniversary edition under the theme Changing the Narrative, Repositioning for Excellence. In a welcome address, the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku, said the Tamale Teaching Hospital is working with the Ghana Health Service to address the maternal mortality concerns. He also raised concerns over water and power crisis that has hit the hospital.
Similar improvements were seen in other key performance indicators, except for maternal mortality, which unfortunately recorded an increase from 719 per 100,000 live births to 1,210 per 100,000 live births. This is a major concern to us, and we have taken pragmatic steps with the Ghana Health Service to work out modalities to reduce our maternal mortality. This patient usage, as we observe 50 years of health service delivery, are many and are directly downturn. Topmost on the list are the need for expansion of PTH infrastructure and equipment base, including the construction of our phase 3 pediatric complex, and the need for dedicated uninterrupted power and water supply to the hospital. I'm sure you can imagine how it is like providing clinical service without water and electricity.
The Northern Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Abdullahi Abukari, called for a strong collaboration to offer quality health care for the people.
This time, I would like to call the leadership of the hospital for a closer collaboration. More than ever before, Ghana Health Service, we need to work at service spirit, share old material and human resources, cover the delivery of quality health services to the good people of Ghana.
The Regional Minister, Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu, said they were working to help address the water crisis that has hit the northern region.
The acute water shortages or challenges facing the Tamale Teaching Hospital is not lost on us. We are working closely with the Ghana Water Company Limited and seeking support from various partners to improve water supply in the hospital. We understand the critical role of uninterrupted water supply in delivering quality health care, and we are dedicated to finding a permanent solution to this problem.
The Chief Director of the Ghana Health Service Alhaji Hafiz Adam, said the Ministry of Health was aware of the challenges the hospital was facing and was working to address these challenges.
We are well aware of the internal challenges facing the healthcare facility, inadequate funding to support the expansion of infrastructure, the equipment needed, the freeze on employment, the burden of the 10-month allowance, and the ability to pay utilities. According to these challenges, as shown in the recent decision by the Ministry of Finance to pay off our standard life bills of the health facility, the Ministry of Health is not unaware of the plight of these agencies. We are working diligently to address the most pressing of our needs within the limited resources space that we have.
And now to our election headquarters. On the Ejiso by-election, former president of the Ghana Football Association says balloting the 7th position for the upcoming NPP primary in the Ejiso constituency is divine. Earlier in his campaign, the former football administrator described himself as a 7-shirted Cristiano Ronaldo fit to replace the deceased MP John Kuma, who is described as Lionel Messi. Now, all 9 aspirants for the upcoming elections on Saturday were successful at the vetting. Nana Aljima followed the process and filed this report.
9 aspirants filed to contest the New Patriotic Party's search for a parliamentary candidate for the upcoming by-election at Ejiso. All the candidates, including the 4 females, excelled in the vetting that was supervised by party officers from the national and regional levels. During the process, some negotiations were held for some candidates to rescind decisions to contest, but little was achieved. NPP's Director of Research and Elections, Evans Numako, explains the process has so far been democratic.
Well, for me, I would say this democracy at play. We've allowed an open exercise so that nobody will impute an idea of imposition of any candidate on the constituent. Mind you, we are not in normal times. We've lost our dear brother, and we should rather undertake an exercise that will be befitting, that will appease the soul.
Following the balloting, all 9 aspirants believe they are on course to winning the election, ascribing meanings to the positions on the ballot paper. Second Vice Chairman for the Ejiso constituency, Kwabena Boateng, will be first on the ballot paper.
If the significance of numbers is anything to go by, then it will mean that I've already won the elections, because I picked one. It's also quite profound.
And now for our final story for this bulletin. The Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, through the Graduate Students Association of Ghana, has launched the research support for postgraduate students in the university. The GRASAC Research Fund, which happens to be the first of its kind in any Ghanaian university, will provide support through research grants for graduate students embarking on research projects. The fund will aid the establishment of operations of a walk-in research support hub where graduate students can find expert assistance with issues regarding their research projects. Here's a report.
The Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is seeking to enhance applied problem-solving and interdisciplinary research for socio-economic development of Ghana and Africa. The vision from this has influenced the setup of a funding support for graduate students who undertake research activities and ventures with ease. The support intends to facilitate partnership with external stakeholders, especially industry, to help solve relevant problems in Ghana. KNUST President of GRASAC, Felix Kofi Edusei, indicated the research funds will operate under 2 pivotal initiatives, the GRASAC Support Hub and the GRASAC Research Support Grant.
Our reputation as a university thrives on our research works. And we thought it through that as executives of graduate students, we need to come up with a policy that would help and support research work at the graduate school level, supporting them with a hub and as well as financially supporting them when it comes to their work. Together, we sat down with our Senate, the Research Committee, the Research Director, the Directorate of Student Affairs, the Office of Grants and Research, as well as the Office of the Vice Chancellor, and came up with this policy that would help enhance and enable our graduate students become better.
As a research-intensive institution with over 452 postgraduate programs, thousands of students are being given the opportunity to conceive and develop interdisciplinary research projects. Vice-Chancellor of KNUST Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dixon highlighted the need for extensive funding and investment into research infrastructure.
The leading science and technology university, it is our mandate, it is our responsibility to go through research, to be able to profess solutions to the challenges that humanity has. And that is what, for us, is our mandate. And what you have seen this afternoon is a clear indication. The fact that we place so much premium on research as a research-intensive institution.
The Vice-Chancellor appealed for the commercialization of research outcomes and called on industry to adopt the prototypes and policy briefs generated from research to solve day-to-day problems.
What I would want to do at this juncture is to appeal to all institutions, corporate organizations, well-wishers, people who think that through research we are able to do a lot to solve problems, to come and support this graduate research fund. GRAF.
Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabwa.
And that will be all for the AM News. Up next is the news review. You want to stay with us for that. Now, our guest is Dr. Sharim Ashiv. He's joining us for the news review. Stay tuned.
Well, we're back. Time now for the news review. And you're looking all curry and blue this morning.
You are being mischievous. And you're matching my
Exactly. I was about to say my tie and my lapel pin were sort of. This sort of coded whatever is happening must stop.
No.
On behalf of Ghanaians. No. By popular request.
I like it.
But here we go. It's raining out there.
You said it's pelting.
Yes, it's actually pelting out there. The switch was pretty rapid. It just took a few minutes, and all of a sudden, the weather looks as though it were 5 o'clock in the morning again.
I was outside a few minutes ago.
Exactly.
So I didn't even sense that the rains were coming. And then you come and say it's pelting.
I went to the car park, so I just took my umbrella quickly so that when it gets to that point, I'll be the one who will say. But even before we get to our guest, then I'll talk about endpoint first. And then I'll find out what your most topical issue has been over the weekend.
Me or
before you. I want to find out from you today before we get to our guests. But this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And they are offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. Check out your prostate. You never know what could be happening there. My own good friend, Kukusinti Misa, was taken by surprise and will be airing that prostate watch series in the course of this week, hopefully. On the other end, if you're a woman and you don't know what's going on with your fertility, that could be a recipe for disaster. It could be disaster in the waiting. But the question is, why wait? Head to any of the branches of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronom, Abwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema, Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Siama Nzema. Do you want to call them? They have two numbers, 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. At this juncture, I guess I'd find out from you before I bring in our guest.
Yes. It's actually a very simple issue that's been going on for a while. And it's Dr. Balmier's response to the increase in passport fees. First of all, I have a big concern that he's proposing all these solutions that he cannot actually kickstart now because he's still a driver's mate.
Yeah.
And then he said
flat tax rates and all of that.
The Ghana card is our solution to the hike in passports fees.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes some sense that the processes, during the news review last time with, no, I've forgotten the name of the gentleman. He talked about how...
Adam Agbana.
No, not Adam Agbana. From the PPP.
Oh,
right. Remy, good.
Right.
And he was talking about the backlog and maybe it's the processes, it's infrastructural challenges that's causing the delay. So, coupled with that, the increment, and he's saying that because Ghana card and digitization, that's going to speed up the process. No talk about how we are going to reduce the cost because the average income brackets of the Ghanaian cannot accommodate such prices. But his solution, of course, is digitalization because it's 2024 and December is in the corner.
But I've seen something interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, you could call it propagandist, but at the same time, it makes sense. You know, people, do you know what I'm referring to?
Talk to me.
People have, put together where, let me just read. I think I'll find it somewhere, where people are basically suggesting that the vice president in his administration is suggesting that when his administration comes, they will do X, Y, and Z. When this is actually his administration. Let me just see whether I can... oh, yes. So here it is. Basically, the caption, and it is mischievous, it is propagandist, but there's an element of truth to it. My government is in power, but when my government comes, my government will change all the things that my government has done. My government will do better than my government. You know, someone is playing on things, but it is the truth. I mean, you are in there. You are in there. You are vice president for... Christ's sakes, you're vice president for crying out loud.
To actually get into the details of these issues because as a young person in this country, it's sickening.
It's scandalous where we are.
Like, how do you... As if Ghanaians are not discerning enough to understand that this is all just well, that's the issue on my mind.
And now, someone was telling me over the weekend that even those who want to get out to now with their passport services will stay here.
And then fire.
Oh, yeah.
You want to get out of the fire.
Yes.
And now they're just making it more difficult for you to get out.
But, well, we shall survive and thrive. But let's now bring in Dr. Khalid. A very good morning to you, sir. Okay, he's not joined the conversation yet. We'll try to get him to join the conversation. So I guess we can move on into the papers now.
You didn't tell me what's been on your mind. It's been a week.
Oh, Doomsa, for example, has been on my mind.
Right.
Yeah, a few things happening. I keep saying that my mom was thankful this weekend because at least, was it Saturday, Sunday, her light hadn't. Usually over the weekends, it's pretty problematic. People in different places suffering. Yeah. And you can just tell the frustration is just, what's it, osmosis or whichever one. You know, what's the other? It's percolating. People are getting, it's hitting the eyebrow point, right? Yeah. And I see that, look, people are being battered on all fronts. It's not easy being in Ghana right now. I have a friend in the United States who comes to Ghana pretty often. She's 60 plus, but she looks so fit, you would think she was 50.
Okay.
And she keeps talking to me, WhatsApp call, what's happening in Ghana? You know, I wanted to come again, but I hear so many things. And, you know, COPEC was telling us recently that fuel prices would likely get to 17 cedis soon. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
Do you know how much it costs me to fuel my vehicle? Not in 7 days, in 5 days. Yeah. Okay? That means I'm fueling maybe 5 or 6 times a month.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at what you're earning, you look at the erosion of inflation, you look at fuel prices, not to talk of what you will eat and drink, not to talk of your utilities, not to talk of my mom and her medicine and the things I have to get for her on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis. You realize that this is literally, you know, we're up the proverbial, I can't use that word, but we are up the proverbial creek without a paddle.
Did you follow the Joy News series, Domelevo Diaries, the first episode?
Yes, I watched it.
How businesses have come to a halt because they cannot function.
Yes.
It's a big printing business, and they have to shut down because the lights just...
I'll tell you, you're one of those that really feel the pinch. Yes, you're talking of printing. They feel it. I have a lot of friends in Newtown. Newtown, right here. You know, there are a lot of them concentrated there. Trust me, the stories they've been sharing, not good. Generators, cost, translating the cost, people not being willing to take on the cost because of the state of the economy. But those that sometimes I really pity those operating cold stores.
Oh.
Because some of them do have backups, but sometimes you are caught unawares. And a few hours of that, and your products are basically going bad. And you're
Now,
probably going to
fuel
have
is
to
going
throw
high,
away.
going up, and so even if you have to fall on the backup generator, you have to literally pull the hair from your nostrils in order to keep your business running.
And for me, what irks me the most, it's one thing injuring somebody. It's another thing adding insult to that injury, rubbing salt in the person's wounds. The rhetoric, the way people in government speak, I'm sorry, the way the likes of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh.
It's doom CSE. What are you talking about?
The way he talks, sometimes I scratch my head and ask myself, is this man in Ghana, or is he so oblivious, or is it that they get to the point where they are so shrouded outside of our reality that they actually believe sometimes the hogwash they speak? Because, what does it take? Listen, we do understand, maybe in the erstwhile administration we had this. This is not necessarily doomsday. We know your power goes off every now and then. These are the situations on the ground. And though we don't have a firm grip on everything, Ghana for Yesremo, we're trying to resolve the matter. We're doing our best. It may not be what you would prefer. It's not what we would prefer either. But by and by, we'll get... I can't come out. And you, if you want a timetable, you are wishing evil upon the land. And you ask yourself, what you are doing to me, what is that? Is it not evil you are doing to me?
Regardless of whether or not we have a power deficit, it is doom CSA. Can we please stop calling it doom so?
It is doom
okay,
so.
It's doom CSA.
It is doom so. Please,
stop wishing evil on the country.
Let's get into the papers.
I hear he's tipped to be named as flag bearer.
Who?
Napo.
That is not our decision to make, and that would be pretty interesting.
Yes, I'm looking forward to see how that unfolds. On the back of all his media friendliness.
Exactly. But I heard, who was it that was saying in recent times that, I think it was John Bwedu. John Bwedu, former scribe of the MPP, was saying that those names that had come to the forefront, that people were going to be disappointed. So if it's Napo, then he got it wrong. But if it is someone else, totally different.
Yeah.
I hear now there's even consideration of a woman.
Woman, yes.
But if it's were Napo, well, I'll reserve my comments for
when they actually announce.
When the names are out, and then we'll see.
I must say, Benjamin, that I like that we can actually sit on here and make little burden, crisis.
Yeah.
Because we say something in everybody. It was so yesterday.
Charlie, you must. Because if you're too serious about it, Charlie, ube.
Let's get into the newspaper.
Let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper.
All right, so on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, NPP NDC must prioritize public interest. That is from the speakers. GTech directs universities to cease senior high school satellite campus operations. Government increases cocoa producer prices. Yes, that's an interesting one. Complain to Straj when institutions treat you wrongly. That is the Deputy Commissioner telling the citizenry to do that. Let's do the story on the NPP NDC must prioritize public interest. The story reads, the two major political parties, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, have been urged to prioritize the needs and interests of the public. That, according to a leading civil society activist and a trade unionist, would enable the country to achieve appreciable socio-economic development. The coordinator of the Third World Network Africa, Dr. Yao Graham, and the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Anthony Ban, who made the call, pointed out that the main reason for the lack of socio-economic development was that the two major political parties prioritized the interests of their members over those of the general public. Not too different from what we were talking about how it's difficult for government leaders to be honest with us, because they're shooting themselves in the foot. If they tell us the real situation on the ground, we will see them for who they really are. And
how can it be that way? How can they not realize? And I get it. In politics, yes, especially if you want to be Machiavellian and all of that. But imagine, for example, being on the show. When things happen, you have to tell me the truth that, oh, this is what is happening, and today this and that, and then we know how to adjust. And likewise, if something is happening to me, I have to, oh, this is what is happening, or let's do it this way, or you take that, let's do. That makes the show go on. Yes. Imagine if we were both trying to cut corners and pretending things were a certain way when they were not. The show would be impacted, the people, our viewers would be displeased, and all of that. I do get it. It is politics, and across the world, lies are told and all of that. But at what point do we stop and say, in this instance, I actually said this, but I got it wrong? I mean, Kufuor at a point came into power and said that, listen, I thought so much about the coffers and all of that, but things are different from what I came to meet. And so let's adjust. And what stops you from doing that? What?
Breaking the 8.
So you must break it even if it means breaking the truth, right?
I remember that conversation you had about honesty in politics. Do you remember? I think it was just a month or two ago. We talked about how if our political leaders decide to adopt honesty in our political endeavors, the country will be far better than what we see today.
I think they would have a lot more peace.
And it's just respect for us as citizens.
That is
respect. That is it. That we are human beings and we live off utilities like electricity and water. So the truth of the situation should not be lost on us.
You know, a lot of them in power have plants, generators, and the rest. They may not necessarily... It is good, for example, for people to come out, listen, I am a part of this administration. I am also facing this. It's not the best of situations. For me, I don't even have a plant or generator. So we are in this together. But oftentimes when they say we are in something together, they are lying. It's a totally different...
Do their families even live here? You see, their reality is so far.
When we talk about education...
So they don't see our stress.
When we talk about education and scholarships and the rest, a lot of them will talk and say this and that. Ask them from the education ministry itself. I said ministry, I didn't say minister. Ministry itself. Go there and find out how many of their children are in Ghana studying. Yet they will talk about. But one funny thing before you go on, you know the scholarships thing, right? Well, I was listening the other day, it just made me laugh. When the Fourth Estate wanted the documentation and the scholarship secretariat refused to give it to them. You know, they like doing that in Ghana. Oh, and it is confidential and all of that.
Thanks to RTI.
Then the RTI kicks in and they have to give it. But to show them, so they don't give it to them in PDF. They give them about 10,000 pages.
Are you serious?
Oh, you should have listened to Suleiman Ibrahima. So now you have to take page by page and read. That's why it's taken so long, actually, for them to. And I'm sure there are even things, I want to believe there are things they may have missed in there. You know, our country,
They were actually questioning the basis for which we're, punching loopholes into this, because these people are Ghanaians, and there's no legal instruments that differentiates who's really needy and brilliant. But
the same way when you look at the new list of appointees or nominees from the president as far as the Court of Appeal is concerned, I see some interesting names there. Franklin Kudos said something, I think retracted also. But for me, I just find them interesting. I'll leave it there.
A lot of things are interesting in this country. Now, GTech directs universities to cease senior high school satellite campus operations. The story is on the page 13 of the Daily Graphic. The Ghana Tertiary Education Commission has ordered universities to cease operating satellite campuses in senior high schools and on unapproved premises. The Director General of GTech, Professor Ahmed Abdullahi Jinapor, said the proliferation of satellite campuses of most universities with charters was negatively affecting the growth and development of technical universities. Quote, it is of no surprise that in a school like Bogatanga Senior High School, there can be about 5 different traditional universities running distance education programs for students. Do you have a reaction to this story?
Well, what would my reaction be? I mean, it is what it is. It's pretty straight to the point, so, yeah.
Let's go on. Complain to Shraj when institutions treat you wrongly. The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has urged people who are denied public services or have difficulty accessing such services to file a complaint at Shraj for redress. According to Shraj, it had the legal mandate to receive complaints of such nature, investigate and take remedial actions. A Deputy Commissioner of Shraj, Mercy Labi, disclosed this during an exclusive interview with Daily Graphic. Quote, if you have applied for a passport, for instance, and the passport office is unduly delaying in issuing you with the passport, or you have applied to register your land at Lands Commission and they are unduly delaying in offering you their services, you can file a complaint for us to go into the reasons for the undue delay and give you a redress. I didn't know we could do that. And how feasible is this? So if it takes me more than 3 weeks, 3 months to get a passport, I can file a complaint to Shraj and they will look into it?
I mean, those are some of the things that we probably never test, but which we probably should. And especially with the hike in prices, right? So since they are charging us more to do this, I guess they should take their work more seriously. But there are some things that will take a long time to remedy. For example, we know their machinery and the logistical constraints. They have a backlog of 70,000 and counting. Yes. So realistically, I mean, if you were to put in an application now, you know what time it is.
But
it's going to take a bit of time.
It speaks to how we have lots of laws that actually work in this country. Lots of policies that in themselves are not bad. Hey, did I say laws that work? We have laws that don't work. We have policies that in themselves are not bad, but the implementation of them is where the problem is. So this is good. It's good news if it's feasible. If it's doable, it's good news. But I don't know how many people, first of all, even aware that they can file a complaint about it. And I don't know how seriously we'll take this. But let me do one last story in the Daily Graphic before we move to another newspaper. Cocoa producer price increase lowest ever, according to Minority. The minority in Parliament, the story is on page 18. The minority in Parliament has said the current increase in the producer price of cocoa is the lowest in the history of the country. The minority said its claim was based on recent surge in the world market price of cocoa to an all-time high of an average $10,000 per ton, which was equivalent to 130,000 Ghana cedis at a conservative exchange rate of $1 to 13 Ghana cedis. That amount is said translated into 8,125 Ghana cedis per bag on the cocoa on the international market. Quote, it is sad to note that the newly announced producer price of 33,120 per ton, which translates into 2,070 Ghana cedis per bag, constitutes a paltry 25.47% of the world market price of cocoa.
You know, just was it last week or two, I put out the figures in terms of the current price per ton, which is more than copper. That should tell you how high the prices have gone versus what they were giving cocoa farmers. And all of a sudden, a bit more has been added. But let's also welcome Dr. Sharif Mahmoud Khalid, Associate Professor of Accounting and Finance. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I see you want to. So
on a rainy Monday morning. Yeah, good to be.
It caught you, eh? I mean, it switched from clear weather to the rain in minutes.
I can't describe it. So I'll just leave it at that.
It's something else out there.
Is that bad outside?
It is very bad. It is very bad. It is very bad.
I mean, thankfully, I just went across to get something, and all of a sudden, I saw the switch. I was like, it was almost as though it were 4:30 again. Yeah. You know, the weather. Yeah.
I almost gave up coming in studio, but I said, well, let me push it.
We're grateful that you could make it. So she's raised a number of issues. Maybe we've spoken about Doomsaw, we've spoken about
passports,
scholarships, passports. Any quick reactions before we go?
Well, I mean, the point is, with the passport issue, I think it's quite a sensitive issue. And for me, from what I was hearing from the media, if it's anything to go by, I wasn't very impressed with the response of the minister of Foreign Affairs, who said, like, it's not treating it as though it's not an essential item, right? But when we talk about passport services, you remember during the registration exercise, it became even an important tool to be used to exercise your franchise.
I mean, speaking of the registration exercise of the EC now.
Of the EC now.
Now that it's not just the Ghana card,
the passport
can be used. It's still a crucial issue.
A crucial issue. So it's just not a travel document in our part of the world or in the Ghanaian context. Exactly. And my disappointment with her was that when you're a foreign minister, you're a chief diplomat, and your language must be very diplomatic. Right? This is someone who we've put up as a candidate for the Commonwealth General Secretary.
Exactly.
And you come across with such a tone, I think, underplays the role, and it waters down your candidature for such an international position with high profile and stature. So I think that the ministry hasn't really responded to this issue very well. And it's about time ministers, or for that matter, the executive, allow functionality of... I know that there are top-notch civil servants within the Foreign Service who are probably, running the communications department, and let us hear from them. Right, the backstop is you. So when it becomes very critical, then we can hear from you. But that very response was naive to have come from a chief diplomat, and I thought that was unfortunate. She owes Ghanaians an apology.
In her defense, she says these are realistic prices. And then when you do the comparison between what other people are paying in Africa, it looks like we are the only ones now coming up to speed.
What is the definition of a realistic price when it comes to an essential service like a passport? For me, I deem a passport like a birth certificate, right? Given the kind of prominence we give it, it's sort of like, if we're using it
compared to other jurisdictions.
Other jurisdictions who would not, because in other jurisdictions, it's mentioned you don't need a passport to get on the voters register or the voters roll. And that is problematic. So if we're using a passport for very functional issues, sometimes even banking services and the likes of that, it means that it's a crucial document when it comes to doing business and having the ease as a citizen to actually get on certain, statutory issues that require that by law, you have the right to have it. Then she's invariably, or to put a price mechanism that scare people away from having it, means that you are depriving them of that right. Right. And for me to have come from a chief diplomat, it's quite unfortunate. Right. Then again, we talk about scholarships issues. Yeah. I mean, we've been hearing this from the grapevine in time past, but I think expose is actually bringing a lot to fore.
You know the killer for me, when they requested the information and just to show them some things, instead of giving them a PDF, they gave them about 10,000 pages. Well, you go and read.
They were like playing legal shenanigans. So you ask for discovery or whatever, the other lawyer would load you with a lot of information to actually troll around. But again, when you do that, it can actually even cost them, because if you take the time to sift through all of this, all you need is some key names, and that even will muddy the situation. But the point is, people tend to make the comparison to say, in the previous government, the GET Fund did ABC. The GET Fund didn't have a guideline to do that. Right. The GET Fund had a blanket mandate to do what it did as far as scholarships is concerned. But if you look at what is set up, or the essence of the scholarship secretariat, there are clear guidelines as to what.
And in any case, Doc, for those who may say we need an act and all of that, I don't think we necessarily need an act and all that. I think what we need is common sense and morality.
But the point is,
because is it moral for you, for someone at a certain height of endeavor, to be saying you're giving that person a scholarship that can take care of 60 other students in Ghana?
For me, let's not even. How about the executive programs in Harvard and elsewhere? That would cost 3 weeks. That is costing like 50,000, like almost like 3 master's degrees in other jurisdictions that are equally good. And what are they Harvard executive education, which has been diluted over there? What are you going to do with it anyway?
But anyway, you remember Ejako?
Yeah. So again,
when he was in Parliament at a point, and they asked whether he would, and he said he would do it again. If given the opportunity.
I think what needs to be done is we need to have needs assessment.
Right.
There have to be a criteria for needs assessment.
Right.
I mean, yes, but I think that the blanket also criticism of saying, okay, this is a former MP's son, this is a former minister's son, it's not fair.
It's problematic.
Yeah, it's not fair.
I agree.
Yeah, because the fact that someone has been a former MP or a minister does not mean that they have the means enough to, sponsor. But if there's wards meet the needs, why not?
Maybe sometimes it's because of the ex gratia these people get.
That's if they get
and
it.
you may also say former IGP and all of that.
So let's say you were minister.
But for all you know, maybe this child is not even being taken care of, so to speak, by this person you are. So those are there.
Apart from that, the minister probably did 9 months, a year, and got exited. Or probably one-term MP and exited. We all know what goes with the office of MP and the responsibility when you are not put on a good board or some ministerial role. You still, so I think that yes, needs assessment is very important in this regard.
Purely academic. You write some test, you pass.
You pass, then you get it.
Even that will not work. That will not work. Have you forgotten the gentleman who actually, they had this aptitude test. Dude scored 93. He still didn't get that thing. Dude scored 93, did not get it.
So let's
check out.
Talking about needs assessment and all of that. Some people are not good exam takers, right? They may be very brilliant and all of that. Like they go for that exam, they don't do well. But if the needs assessment is there, okay, well, this ward is smart. These are the various criteria. Probably 10 criteria, you meet a minimum of 7. You go through. I think that is good. So
let's quickly check out. Is it the new finder?
Yes, the new find. On the front page, cocoa price up by 58.26%. A bag now sells at 2,070 Ghana cedis. But on page 5 of the new finder, there's a story here. Teacher exodus. Education stakeholders call for urgent recruitment of new teachers. I'll do that final story and then I'll hand over to you, Ben. Stakeholders in education at a conference have expressed concerns about the increasing number of teachers leaving Ghana to abroad, saying the situation is rendering classrooms empty. They said the situation was affecting teaching and learning in basic schools due to inadequate teachers. They therefore asked the Ghana Education Service to give early clearance for recruitment of new teachers to address the shortfall. This was made during a stakeholder engagement forum to make input into political parties' manifestos organized by Send Ghana. Every day we wake up to issues in the education sector, but it appears the government have their own trajectory on what they want to achieve when it comes to education sector. Doc, what's your reaction to
this? I think that our educational sector has been in some form of, to controversially use this word, some crisis of a sort, or maybe some confusion as a sort, if I don't want to go that hard. And it's about time we addressed all of these issues. I mean, we already have a big attrition rate when it comes to teacher training and deployment, or for that matter, postings. So if we're having this, and the very few that we've trained with the taxpayers are exiting the country, I mean, what is the incentive we have, especially so when we have a supposed flagship project of a program of free SHS? What it means is that it's not, the demand side is not meeting the supply side of things as well, and incentives. So you look at this, okay, since the inception of free SHS, what incentives have been put in place to actually up or maintain teacher quality and also retention within the sector? None, for that matter. So you could remember that I think the 2 unions, or is it 3 of NAGRAT? They have been, a couple of times. I think they just called off a recent strike action. So what it means is that their needs actually have not been met, right? And teaching is a very noble profession, and if we don't turn as a nation to put consciousness to it, to actually have the real motivation, right, to get the drive towards putting the right teachers before classrooms or before pupils, then we're going to continue to have these kind of problems. It's just like policing. If you don't have the passion to be a policeman and you ever get in, you just don't perform.
Well, it's just a simple thing. Look at the countries that we call developed. They have developed on the back of proper teaching. Which then leads to having the right material for industry. And back when we keep talking about those empires and how they came to learn from the Arabs and all of that,
I always say
drew the rest of the world.
Our first inspiration and motivation is our teachers. Think back to your primary school teacher. True. The one you saw every day of the week when you went to school. You hoped to be like him. If he was a disciplined lady, and how he or she dressed, they become our first role models. So why are we shying away from actually empowering this sector and actually making it very attractive? You look at the OECD ratings of PISA rankings. We are nowhere to be found. That is problematic. I'm not saying we have to be on every ranking whatsoever, but you look at the quality of numeracy and literacy skill. I always said our parents who did the old system of GCSEs, O-levels and the likes of, they speak better English than you and I.
As for today, let's not even go there. The PISA surveys and reports, I mean, over the last few years, they've been controversial because when you talk about them here, it's a different ballgame. But that's a conversation for another day.
But Benjamin, I insist that digitization has come to solve all that.
No, but how has it? And okay, then but the point is, if you put laptops right in the hands of students, where teachers don't have even IT literacy to deliver this to students, what have you done? Are you just allowing students to explore?
That's a question you need to put to the right people.
I don't speak for the education ministry, so I'm not going to.
But it's just a critical.
I'm not going to hold brief
that is
for anybody. But I'm just going to go through a few stories. The rest of them, for example, this bit about Ghana being ranked best in governance in West Africa by World Economics Governance Index report.
We've
logged that
very misleading
from
but that's very
last.
But that's very misleading.
So supposedly 5th in Africa, 1st in West Africa.
5th in West Africa, is that not?
No, 5th in Africa, 1st in
West Africa.
But those metrics, I don't even want us to go there because we ourselves.
No, not the metrics. How many states do we have in West Africa?
There are about 15.
15.
Yeah.
Out of these 15, about 5 of them are in turmoil. So forget they can't be a part of the ratings, right? Because we talk of Mali, we talk about. So if out of the 10 you are first, I mean, is this something?
But it's not bad if you are first out of 10. But it is what they are looking at. They are looking at corruption.
Out of the
corruption, rule of law, governance. And I ask myself,
out of the 10, ask a few rogue states, and you don't want to go after any state to say this is what it is.
That's why I don't want to.
We all know what is within the sub-region.
Yeah, but at least it's a win is a win. So.
Oh, but well, I mean,
a win is a win.
Our democracy. But the point is, it's if we really want to talk about real democracy and the rule of law, right? I say, look, what metrics are we looking at? What critical issues are we looking when you have a very partisan attorney general? Right, his language and diction.
You think Dr. Dami is
very partisan? Yeah, when he takes approaches, because the point is, I always say, look, when you're attorney general, you're chief lawyer of the country, right? So when you start to have a certain posturing,
he's head of the bar.
Yeah, but when you start to have a certain posturing, you can do a content analysis of his speeches and his response to very critical issues. Right, that has been watered down from a partisan.
Name one.
Name
one.
I was going to ask, like what?
No, the point is, like, for instance, you look at this issue of the recent court incident where, there was back and forth with the presidency and Parliament or the Speaker of Parliament. You can read his tone and response to it. Right. I thought that because the point is, when you have relatively young people in very sensitive office, regardless of political interest or what have you, you may have that because we can understand that we all have our political leanings. Right. But certain office such as Attorney General and Minister of Justice, they had to be, it's a very thin line.
Which is why some people have said that office ought to be decoupled.
Yes,
so
when you sound in a certain tone in how you deliver, and especially also in issues of SAL and all of these things, and the issues you take to court, how some are expedited, how some are not expedited, it tends to, I'm not accusing him of anything wrong, it is just the optics it creates around the office. Right. And that becomes problematic.
Okay, so we have just about 2-3 minutes. Let's quickly make the most of that time. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, stakeholders hold crunch meeting over energy crisis. You ought to be concerned about that because guess what? We're all talking of the power situation. So players in the energy sector value chain on Saturday held a crunch meeting to discuss the erratic power supply in the country. Now, convened by the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, the meeting was attended by representatives from the Ministries of Finance and Energy, the Electricity Company of Ghana, the Ghana Grid Company, the Volta River Authority, the Bui Power Authority, the Northern Electricity Development Company, and independent power producers. Now, speaking with the media after the closed-door meeting, Chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee and MP for Achimebwakwa South, Samuel Atachian, said they had listened to all the stakeholders and had a better grasp of the issues, bedeviling the sector. Having come to that realization, I don't know whether they just got the epiphany. Yeah. Having come to that realization, he then said the need for a load-shedding timetable to manage the situation had become inevitable as the players in the value chain find solution to the crisis. But, the energy minister has said that if you are calling for a timetable, you are wishing evil upon the land. So I don't know whether Atachian is contradicting,
undermining him.
The Daily Guide also says, let me just add this, Ghana's bullet trains arrive. So let me just get to that story. Here we are. So the first batch of 12 state-of-the-art bullet trains assembled in Poland for railway transportation in Ghana has arrived at the Tema port. This marks a significant moment for Ghana's transportation sector and will be used on the new Tema Mpakadan standard gauge railway line. I'm just going to leave it there. So the 97-kilometer standard gauge railroad, known as the Tema Mpakadan railway line, will facilitate the movement of goods and people along the eastern corridor of Ghana. It is part of a large plan for a 1,000-kilometer Ghana-Burkina Faso interconnectivity project connecting Ouagadougou to the port in Tema. Those are the stories I will look at. Any reactions?
Yeah, the point is, I mean, with the issue of, I'll start with the trains, right? When we talk about a green economy, we talk about sustainability issues. We've just returned from Dubai COP23. If I'm
No. Wait, I think it's gone way past.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, only recently we've just returned from COP. From the recent climate change, and we're putting diesel-powered trains. Bullet trains on track. I think that's very problematic.
We have to start from somewhere.
Starting from somewhere then means that you have to start clean, right?
Okay.
Because we've
But you have a point.
Yeah,
so if we are progressively going clean the world, so
in the world over,
then don't start
by going back. That's my point. You get it. So yes, we all want to have trains on our tracks running and giving a decent transportation system or network across the country. I'm happy to sit on a train and work on my laptop from, Accra to Wale or wherever it is. But to put diesel-powered engines on these tracks, I think that it hasn't really ticked the boxes.
Okay, so we have to go in about a minute. Any final thoughts before he
comes with? We have the facility and the infrastructure to actually make this work.
That's where else.
Why not be optimistic?
Optimistic?
You must start. I keep saying you must start from somewhere, right?
Have you seen those things called sky trains?
I mean, you see, the talk about that from the outset, I knew. Here's the point. From the crying, not esrodi. So as for that one, leave it out. But this is on the ground.
I just hope it's not an election year gimmick.
All right.
Of bringing these things in to show some that, okay, we're doing something, these trains are working. And after elections, I know everything goes down again.
Thank you, Dr. Halley.
A lot is happening. And I don't know if you discussed the appointment of the judges as well, only recently.
It's in there, yes. It's actually on page
I think Mr. President
3.
He's overdoing it, is he not?
He's overdoing it.
Yeah, because he should fix our prisons and make them a decent place and actually make them very rehabilitative as well to commensurate the appointment of judges.
Court of Appeal. It's an interesting picture when you look across our courts now.
It's very interesting. The judiciary is launching an initiative, a press launch, making such a fuss about it.
Yeah, but I find some very interesting names in there, and also some people that are very respected within
Dr. Khalid, I know exactly what you mean. We'll have a time for that conversation some other time, because when I also saw it, in fact, I reacted on our group page and on some matters.
Again, it's at the timing, I mean, with few months to go, we have 6 months to have an election.
Right.
And it looks like this is about, I don't know. He's been appointed almost every year. He appoints. This is like the High Court. This is one of the APEC, big
Court of Appeal.
Court of Appeal, which is like next to the Supreme or whatever.
The Superior Court.
Superior Court.
High Court.
But if you even look at the lower courts and the high courts, the kind of appointments he's made recently. So the point is, when you begin to do all of this, and then the next government comes in and say, okay, we would also dilute this. Then we tend to a very important arm of government, which is the judiciary. We tend to water it.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. We really have to go. Dr. Sharif Mahmoud Khalid, Associate Professor of Accounting and Finance. Before we veer into sports, this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Just reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma, Boyha, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22. Techiman Hanswa and Esiamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review segment. Sports is up next, and of course, mouth-watering for me, Manchester United versus Liverpool. In that 2-2 draw. Look forward to more action coming your way. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM show. And as we kickstart the week, we're starting with those salient, hard conversations because guess what? There are myriad issues taking place in our country, and we need those people who have been there and done that to react to them. This morning, we host a man who for many years was Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana until he was ousted on the back of age. The court ruled after a while that he had been ousted improperly. He had the opportunity of returning, but decided not to. Today, he shares his perspective on myriad issues of national scope. Daniel Domelevo is my guest this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I have been well, by God's grace, and we're still in the Easter season. I hope you're celebrating well.
Exactly.
It's been a while since we had an interaction. I'd like to find out from you, what has Mr. Domelevo been up to?
Thank you, Benjamin. I am on pension, but I have a few assignments outside the country. So I'll be moving around supporting public financial management issues outside the country. And also, I'm a member of the Audit and Finance Committee of the Global Fund. So that has been sending me to Geneva very often. So that's what I've been doing more or less, and speaking to people on TV, on radio. You might have seen some of those interviews and conversations.
Maybe, I don't know why, but this proverb comes to mind. You baby, ako baby. I don't know whether...
Exactly. I've actually said that several times, that in Krudos,
okay, so let's get into the work of an Auditor General. I think it is proper. Yes, the Constitution clearly states or stipulates what your work should be or what the work of any other Auditor General should be. But you came with a fresh perspective, different dimensions, implementing surcharges and all of that. Just walk us through very briefly, what does it really mean to be Auditor General, and what made you so different when you were in that position?
Thank you very much, Benjamin. According to Article 187, Clause 2, or 1872 of the Constitution, the Auditor General has the mandate to audit the central government, the local government, the courts, the universities, public corporations, and any establishment established by law in the country, and report to Parliament. Clause 5 says he must report to Parliament within 6 months after the end of the financial year on which he or she is reporting. I must say, auditors general are all the same. I think my predecessors and my successor all do the same audit. The difference is holding people accountable. If you may recall, Occupy Ghana filed a suit at the Supreme Court against Attorney General, which is usually referred to as the Auditor General's case, because in the views of Occupy Ghana, the provision in Clause 7 of Article 187 were not being adhered to by the Auditor General. That clause provides, if I can paraphrase, that in the performance of his or her duties under the Constitution or any other law, the Auditor General may disallow any item of expenditure which is contrary to law and surcharge the person who authorized or made the payment. And this is the provision which made the difference. Personally, I love that provision, and I thought it was the main thing that the Auditor General must do to bring a difference if you have to hold people accountable in the public service. That is the provision I took very seriously. If you remember, early 2018, I disallowed 5.4 billion, which was equivalent to 1.1 billion US dollars those days. And I know the president was very happy. He praised me in the State of the Nation address. Again, even at Independence 2018, 6 March, he praised me during that independence. So I think that is the crux of the matter. I keep saying, and forgive me, with no disrespect at all intended to the journalists, I said, if Auditor General will not implement the provisions under Clause 7 of Article 187, then he's operating like a journalist. And maybe even the journalists are better.
Why do you say that, though?
Yes, because the journalists don't have mandate to hold people accountable beyond bringing it to the public domain. But the Auditor General has the mandate to hold the individuals accountable and get the money refunded or retrieve the money.
But in the case of surcharging, among others, I mean, famously, Kroll and Associates, Senior Minister Osafo Mafo and all of that, some say that was the beginning of the end for you, once you started touching the lion's tail. But the point being that surcharging, how should one go about it? Do you think you overdid it at a point? Or was it that, because then again, there was a lot of pushback, there was a lot of fighting you, especially on that point, and some other related cases. And that was where some real tension started developing between your outfit and the executive. So surcharging, how far is too far?
Let me say that I was actually at the warming up stage. I had not even reached the maximum yet. I thought we should go further than where I was. And let me be very honest with you, Benjamin. If you have to hold people accountable in order to prevent corruption, we must start at the top. I've always advocated that we should hold the bull by the horns, not by the tail. If we start at the top holding people accountable, then it cascades or it will come, the effect will come down. I usually say when it storms at the top, it will drizzle at the bottom. So once you start holding people accountable, it will bring about deterrence throughout the system. And that is what I think I was doing. And I don't seriously think I went too far. I was determined to do even more.
But did you do what was right? Because some said that you were not, in your permutations, in your calculations, in how you went about it, you had not taken stock of the right things.
Well, those are people, they're entitled to their views, you know. So I have no difficulty with that. But you should understand also that this is the first time that we are doing the disallowance and surcharge. So it is an area which we don't have the institutional memory or the experience to refer to. If you comb around the world, you may not even find examples. The one that comes very close is to what we call the Napoleon system of auditing. That is the French. But the French system is judicial. So the Auditor General is actually a judge. And it combines the audit work and the judiciary work. So the Auditor General sends his team on the field. They go do the audit, identify the findings, they bring it. Another unit of the Auditor General's office does the prosecution, and there is another unit which is responsible for adjudicating or the judicial work. So the judge, the Auditor General is also a judge, and his team, they are all judges, and they are prosecutors, and they are auditors. That one is a bit extreme, which you call the Napoleon system. Our system is the Westminster system, or the parliamentary system, where we have an Auditor General who is mandated to do the entire audit. He only delegates or uses other people to assist him to do it. So it is a matter of perception. And let me say that I do not claim that what we're doing, there may not be any fault at all about it. I'm fallible. Everybody is fallible, so there's no problem about that. But seriously speaking, I think from my point of view, the judiciary did not help the cause. It is not because I was doing things wrongly. You talked about Osafo Mafo. Yes, that is a very popular case, the Kroll and Associates. But there is another one, Zoom Lion. Zoom Lion also, the same thing. When we disallow and surcharge, the case went to the High Court. The High Court judge, the judge ruled in our favor that we did the right thing. But how did Zoom Lion get out of it? they appealed against the ruling, and when they were appealing or they went to the Court of Appeal, the issue was not challenging the ruling at the High Court. They challenged the jurisdiction of the Auditor General. That is, the mandate of the Auditor General extends to the private sector. That was the issue they challenged at the Court of Appeal. And Court of Appeal said, well, since this involves interpreting the Constitution, that is Clause 7 of Article 187, then it must have to go to the Supreme Court. So the Court of Appeal pushed the case into the territory of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, in their wisdom, first, before talking about what they decided, through my lawyers, we argued at the Supreme Court that there was no need for even interpretation again, because they had earlier on interpreted that in
Mr. Domelevo, okay, so I can hear you now. They had earlier determined that that's where we lost you. You can go ahead now.
Yes. In Occupy Ghana versus Attorney General, the Supreme Court had earlier on determined that if we want to interpret the person, because if you remember what I said, the Auditor General should hold any person who incurs or pays an expenditure which is contrary to law. So they said the person in that includes public servants as well as private persons and entities. So that is already there. If you take a copy of the judgment, if you look at the consequential orders, you see, I think the consequential order number 3 or the 4th one, they defined the person over there. So we drew the court attention that there's no need for you to interpret it again. The Court of Appeal just have to apply it instead of redefining it or interpreting it. But the Supreme Court came out with a different verdict to say that, well, the trial judge or the judge at the High Court did not find Zoom Lion guilty of fraud. Hence, the mandate of the Auditor General did not get activated. We argue that fraud is not in the Constitution. They are importing a word into the words into the Constitution, but then their decision is final. So I don't really think that we were doing something wrong. We think the judiciary had a very different approach, which I don't fault them for. Maybe
but why do you think they had that different approach? Because in any case, we can also talk about, if we're going to elongate this, we can also talk about when you were giving your marching orders by the executive and how long it took before the judiciary finally came through with the fact that actually what had been done was in error. But by that time, you had been relieved of your position, someone else had been put in your office, and you said that you would let sleeping dogs lie, you wouldn't come back. But what then is your reaction to these delays as far as the judicial process is concerned?
So that's what I'm saying, that the judiciary have their own approach, because that victory is a Pyrrhic victory. It's a victory which is useless. It's as good as losing the case. Why would the judiciary, which in the past gave several judgments in Electoral Commission's case, interpreting the Constitution at times within 2 weeks, within a month, so that the process can go on. Wait till they realized it was time for me to have actually left office before they came out with their decision. And when I read, remember when the judgment came, I was quite full of praise for them. But when I read the judgment itself, it annoyed me. I was like, look at these guys. They were thinking about themselves. I don't think the case is what they were judging, because if you read the judgment, in the judgment they stated that the independence that the Auditor General has, the president could not have asked him to go on leave. I'm just paraphrasing. And if they allow it to go or slide, a time will come when, in the course of election, the president may tell the Electoral Commission to also proceed on leave. And there may be a time when the Chief Justice himself can be asked to proceed on leave. So they could not support it. So I said, look at these guys, they were protecting themselves. Hence, they waited till it was a Pyrrhic victory before they pronounced it. So at times, it's like I will do the right thing, but I will do the right thing saying that it is useless to you. So I think the judiciary was not helpful.
So you think this was deliberate? This was calculated?
from my point of view, very deliberate. I don't think it was right because they themselves came out with that phrase, justice delayed is what? Justice denied. And I don't think any group of people should know that better than the Supreme Court.
And of course, this was the time when Justice Enini Yeboah was Chief Justice. It wasn't
Yes.
Gertrude Tokono. But just to clarify, so in terms of the Auditor General's work, from what you know, you have experience now, and you suffered for it, and the extant situation, how much more can the work of the Auditor General be strengthened, be facilitated? What can we do?
Yes, what we can do is clearly stated actually in the directive
principles of state policy,
consequential orders
right,
that was given by the Supreme Court. In fact, in giving the consequential orders, that is telling the Auditor General that hold people accountable anytime you come across expenditures that are contrary to law, they didn't stop there. They went ahead and gave, I think the fourth instruction went to the Attorney General to hold people accountable also, prosecute people if need be, so that we can, in fact, in the judgment, there is a point where they even referred to giving the Auditor General and the Attorney General teeth to bite. So we need a teeth to bite because you see, I have made a statement over and over again, and I'll repeat it, that when there are no consequences for misbehavior or abuse of public funds, the impunity will continue. The abuse of public funds will continue. People have come to the realization that especially when you are within the ruling class, you can misbehave anyhow. You can do anything at all, and you will get away with it. If we create such a society, I think we are going to continue suffering from what we are seeing today. Thank you.
Now that we've dealt with the major bits about, the Auditor General and all of that, there are some current issues that I want us to wade into, starting with tax exemptions, tax waivers, flat rates, and all of that. You have heard a lot of talk from different parts of the political spectrum about that. Because of the environment you operate in, I want to run them by you. For example, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President, has spoken about tax amnesty and a flat rate moving forward. And some tax experts have said that would not be the way to go. In fact, it could be a disincentive for those on the other side who have been, paying their taxes diligently. But when you look at our tax system and you look at what the boons we get as a country, and the fact that we have 22 handles each time now you go and make a purchase in some places or you eat and you do that, and you're looking at tax of about 22%. That's more than 1/5. What do you see, and how can we do better without squeezing the ordinary Ghanaian even further?
Thank you very much, Benjamin. When it comes to taxes, I have described what is happening now in another forum as we have moved from taxation to robbery. Government is actually robbing the people. It's so disturbing to know that
we've moved from taxation to robbery.
Yes, we have moved from taxation to robbery. Why I call it robbery is that when you earn income or you earn any money at all, there will be a withholding tax or there will be a pay as you earn. So it is taxed. Immediately you want to use the rest to buy anything at all, there is a litany or a long list of taxes waiting for you, which you have to pay. Even when you are paying for the thing that you bought, including the tax, you are taxed again. Is that not robbery? And from my point of view, it is beyond taxation. It is now robbery. But the sad part of it, which I may have to also quickly add, is that if you look at the uses to which the money is being put, today's day and age where our children are still studying under trees, some in dilapidated accommodation or school buildings, people go to hospitals and they cannot receive the basic health care that they require. We use a lot of money to go and dig a hole, calling it National Cathedral. We don't have our priorities right. And I've made a statement, and I'll repeat it here, that corruption, just as wasteful spending, are all bad for the country because both deny the citizenry the benefit of the public funds. So just as we are fighting against corruption, we must also fight against wastefulness. And In South Africa, they have a very beautiful term in their public financial management law. They call it fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Government has been engaging in so many fruitless and wasteful expenditure, which doesn't help the citizenry when the taxation is going this way. Let me quickly come back to the tax and say that it was one of the areas of concern to me when I was Auditor General. So I actually commissioned an audit into the tax waivers. Unfortunately, the report was not ready before I left office, and it has been kept at that level. If you had seen that report, you will have seen the extent to which the application of the waivers was done or was carried out discriminatorily. Two of us may be in the same industry operating at the same level. Because of maybe who you are, you may get the exemption, I may not get the exemption. I thought there was a lot of indiscretion when it came to the tax exemption, and I thought it was also one of the waste pipes that had been created, contrary to the laws of the country. So let me be honest with you, to make politics out of it and say, when I come, I'm going to scratch it, without studying in detail the effect of it, I think it is very disturbing. Because, look, Benjamin, you know that if you and I, we are trading in the same goods, and I get the exemption, but you don't get the exemption, it immediately gives me an advantage over you, because the profit margin or the price at which I can sell my items become lower, as a result of which I beat you in the business. So we must look at it holistically, get professional advice. This rushing into promising that when I become a president, I'll do this, must stop from NDC, MPP, and all the parties. We must sit down. We don't run economy on just promises.
Right.
You must analyze the economy and look at what policy is good for the country. But what we are seeing today is that anybody who jumps on the political platform is promising and promising and promising. I don't think it is helpful to the country. That must stop. I think our democracy is maturing. We must reach a point where we must look at what is necessary for us to do as a country, instead of just waking up and say, oh, I will give you this, I will give you that. And I think the political campaign has become a matter of promises. And personally, I am not happy about it.
Well, interesting dynamics in there, because some also point to the fact that, listen, there's the e-levy, and you're saying you'll scrap it at some point in the future, assuming you become president, but it's extant now. And some would even ask what sort of advice the vice president would have given into that. But we can sidestep that. One thing that comes to mind, though, it just came up, so please indulge me. You know, in recent times, because the vice president has said that the GRA is harassing businesses. I'm sure you saw that story, talking about the harassment of businesses and all of that. And some people felt, wait, what are you talking about? But the GRA was also lampooned because Reverend Amishadai, the former chair, was 62 and counting.
Commissioner General.
Commissioner General, yes, was 62 and counting. Now he's been replaced with someone who is also 60 plus. I just wanted to draw linkages between that and you. What happened in your case? You were also in that same bracket, and somehow yours was not understood, but others can still serve. Did you find that curious?
Yes, I find it very curious, Benjamin, because in my case, the 60 years did not even catch up. Then he said, I'll go quickly. So I was pushed out because I was being a troublesome boy, you see. I was disturbing. In fact, if you saw the letter I wrote to the president, I drew attention to the fact that I think my audits were disturbing him. And many of his functionaries were complaining that I was disturbing them, making them unpopular. Remember, I came out with that Gate Fund report, which indicted...
And we're about to get to that. Anyway.
So it depends upon which part of the team you are. If you are part of them and you are playing the same direction, you can stay in till maybe you are 70. And you see, this is not the first time. Let me draw your attention to something. It is not the first time this has happened anyway. When Professor Duajima was appointed Auditor General, he was 61 years, getting to 62. Do you know that? He was appointed after the pension year. He was 61, getting to 62. He was born in 1939, and he was appointed Auditor General in 2001. But anyway, his date of birth had not yet come, so he was from 61 getting to 62. And by the provisions of the Constitution, he could have been in office for only 5 years. That is 2, 2, and 1, which Article 199 of the Constitution provides for. But he stayed on to about 8 years or 9 years. So this illegality has been happening in the past. So I'm not surprised seeing that they are doing the same thing with the GRA boss. But then again, I found it very disturbing that why are they not minded to even comply with the Constitution? Well, the GRA boss, when he turned 60, constitutionally he could be given extension, a contract for 2 years, and 2 years, and then 1 year, so 5 years. So what stopped the presidency from giving the contract those days? Waiting for 3 years before now going back to right the wrong, I don't think is the right thing to be doing. It goes contrary to good governance, and I think the office of the president may have to stop doing things of that nature. I saw the letter on social media. If it is true, then I was laughing. I said, so were they asleep? What was happening? If you knew that you wanted to keep Benjamin at post, and Benjamin is 60 years, why couldn't you just offer the contract immediately? Said that it is in tandem with good practice, but you wait for over 3 years. Now, the date on which one of the contracts that I saw, I don't know whether I saw it correctly, it seems it dates from 2001 to 2013, and issued in 2024. And then another one now takes it off from 2023 to 2024 or something of that nature. And I say, why are we doing this to ourselves?
Well, it tells you about the kind of system we run. You've mentioned two interesting things that I'll be getting to one after the other: corruption and scholarships. You mentioned those in your last submissions. I'll get to them, but I want to start on the trajectory of corruption. The last time I had Professor Frimpong Boateng in the studio, I asked him about corruption, and he told me that the fight hadn't even started yet. That was what he told me. When you look at the beast of corruption, what do you see? And have we got any better? After all, we have the Office of the Special Prosecutor. We have Shiraj. We have all of these entities. In fact, the World Economic Governance Index report recently rated Ghana 5th in Africa, 1st in West Africa in respect of, such criteria as political stability, rule of law, accountability, and government effectiveness. And guess what? In there, rule of law, law and order, press freedom, and corruption. So I guess some of these entities are saying, maybe we are not doing so badly. What's your take?
Well, those are perspectives. You see, it is like the accounts have a proverb which I like so much. They say that abusia te se kwaye ujina chira ebumutum udrum one who said you in bread. So if you are outside the forest, what you see is different from we who are in the forest. So those are their perspectives. And you see, the institutional arrangement at times is appealing to these external institutions or bodies, because they think that once you put the institutions in place, they will work. But let me be quick to make a point here. I don't think our fight against corruption is going to improve by continuously creating institutions. In fact, we will not even be productive as people. If any time one person fails to discharge his or her duties, we bring in another person to support. I think that if we thought that the fight of corruption must be pushed to a higher level, what we should do is to assess the institutions on the ground and find out what are the shortcomings. Is it that there's some skills they lack? Is it the legal framework? Is it resources? Then we resource them, give them the mandate so that we task them to do the work. If they cannot do it, we push them aside and get the right person to do the work. The continuous creation of institution itself is a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Do you know how much? I've forgotten the figure, but maybe the millions have been spent to establish the OSP office in Accra.
Indeed. Many millions.
Thank you. And if that office has to be rolled out throughout the country, to the regions and the districts, can you imagine how much will be involved? So have we not, why didn't the government first look at the institutions that were in existence to say, look, for instance, YOCO has offices in all the regions and the districts already. So what is lacking? If it is the mandate, so why don't we just amend the law and give YOCO maybe that mandate? If it is resources, why don't we give the resources? It will have saved us from the overhead. That amount we are spending now to build infrastructure, buy cars, buy printers, computers, and etc., we will have saved that and use it for a more useful purpose than what we are doing.
I see. So in terms of the fight against corruption then, you say it's not merely replicating or duplicating institutions and all of that, but from where you sit, throughout these last 80 years, at least this administration is in power, how well have we fared on a scale of 1 to 10 in fighting corruption or taming it?
You can look at the corruption perception index, and it tells you that we have not done well at all. I cannot agree more with Professor Boateng. The fight has not even started. If you look at the leadership, it does not look as if they are serious with fighting corruption. It is just a matter of rhetorics. Yes, as for good speech, we receive them every day or we hear them every day. But when it comes to the action on the ground, some of the issues, even we don't need to wait for commission of inquiry or maybe prosecution. Just a matter of giving a good image of the government. We can say, look, step aside. You can't do this and still be part of us. I was looking at or watching a video from Asia, one of these countries, I've forgotten the name, near Malaysia. That one country, the city. Okay, I've forgotten the name of the country.
Which country? What? I mean, maybe I could be of.
It is very close. It was part of Malaysia and Singapore. Singapore, yes, Singapore. Right. Yes, I was watching a video from Singapore, and the Prime Minister was telling us that if you are not honest and clean, don't join politics. I was like, woo. He was like, no, you must make sure that you are clean and you are honest before you join politics. And how did they come across, how did they solve their corruption issues? The former Prime Minister at Independence made it very clear that once you dirty yourself, you will be cleaned. And one of his own friends, who was a minister, went on holiday trip with a vendor or a private sector person. On his return, he was being investigated and was being processed for court. He thought he could depend upon the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister said, no, this is your business. Go and answer for it. What happened there, I am not part of it. And the guy took his life. And the Prime Minister drew attention to the other people. So you see, even my friend, I could not help him. He committed suicide. So the rest of you, there is nothing going to be less than that.
Do you know what comes to mind, interestingly, as you say this? You remember when Akufo-Addo took over the reins of government, he did say that, in fact, before he even did, he did say, and I may paraphrase here, that those within his party who think they are coming into power so that they will benefit from the boons of governance or make money will be sorely disappointed. Have you seen that?
Exactly.
Have you seen that disappointment?
If you wanted to make money, go to the private sector.
Exactly.
If you wanted to make money. But these are all rhetorics, and at the end of the day, we have seen people who are filthy rich, filthy rich, over a few years of joining his government. So I have not seen that commitment yet. So when people are now going around promising, and especially for the vice president who is still part of the government, why will he not, if he's mindful or is minded to get the right thing done, why doesn't he go to cabinet, or why doesn't you go to see the president? We must start now. Ghanaians are hurting. I remember his this thing. Ghanaians are suffering. We are suffering. So don't say we should wait till next year. You are number 2. So we should go to cabinet and tell cabinet that, look, Ghanaians are suffering. Let's start implementing some of the solutions today.
All right. And so just if you want to go there, on a scale of 1 to 10, the fight against corruption, how well have we fared? We're in the 8th year of this administration.
I will not even give them 50%. I may rank them between 30 to 40%.
That's 3 or 4 out of 10.
Yes, and that 3 out of or 4 out of 10 is for the institutional arrangements they are put in place, not the actual implementation.
Right. Let's talk briefly about the special prosecutor, because he's also had cause to lament funding where his office would be, getting the right staff, having the leeway to operate. I mean, sometimes maybe he's also gone a certain way, calling about being allowed to be on, is it the Judicial Service Board? I'm not so sure. I have to check on that. Among others, some have said that has no bearing on his work. But when you look specifically at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, are we doing what it takes to allow that outfit to work so corruption can be dealt with? A case in point, Cecilia Abnadapa and the entire saga that happened.
Well, I stated earlier on, if you remember, that I said I don't think the fight against corruption can be won by just creating additional institutions or putting in place new systems which do not add value. It is my considered opinion that the best way to go is not in creating a new office as in the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But if that is what it will take for us to nip corruption in the bud, then why not? I have no problem about that. But I think there are cheaper options, and that should have been explored instead of what it is. But if you remember again, Benjamin, I have always said that once you fight corruption, corruption will fight you back. Corruption fights anybody at all that fights corruption. And that is what he's facing. What about Martin Amidu? Martin Amidu, out of frustration, had to resign and go away. And fortunately, between myself and Martin Amidu, we had a lot of collaboration. So I know a lot of the frustrations that he went through, which I will not put those frustrations in public domain because he didn't put it in public domain himself. And he has not asked me to do so, so I will not do that. I have no doubt in my mind that is the same frustration that Kisia Ejaben is facing. The perception of people in government is that they are entitled to get away with anything that they do, be it contrary to the law or wrong. They think the accountability, the holding of people accountable, has to do with opponents and people who are not within their cycle. And I think that is what do you call it, Mr. Kisia Ejaben is facing. If you take Cecilia Dapa's case, without making any pronouncement that she is guilty of anything or whatever it is, at least it is mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling that someone has money in his or her house to the extent that over $1 million or whatever was stolen and they didn't even know. It took some time before they get to know. So much money, and what will you be doing with that money? I don't know whether you... Benjamin, you have seen $1 million before. Cash stuck in somebody's house.
I don't think that's even a question to ask.
Yes. And Benjamin, what is disturbing is that when she decided to resign, in accepting the appointment, why did the president have to add that I know you'll be, for lack of remembering what exactly said, you'll be vindicated sort of at the end. Why should the president go to that?
Her integrity will shine through.
Will shine through, yes. Why? What was the need for that? So it goes to embolden those who are also practicing it. And I'm sure that she's not alone. There may be other people. So, well, as far as I'm concerned, the rhetorics are far so higher than actions on the ground. In fact, if there is even inaction at all that I see as a fight against corruption is just rhetorics. Talk, no action. If somebody call it no action, talk only, NATO. That is what I hear.
And speaking of corruption, another angle that has drawn the ire, the angst of ordinary Ghanaians has to do with scholarships. Now, while you were at Post, you started digging into this matter. I found it interesting because the Scholarship Secretariat recently, and not recently, quite a while back, years ago, when they reached out to, the Fourth Estate reached out to the Scholarship Secretariat, they were denied confidential information and all of that. They had to fall on the RTI law to get it. And then instead of giving them PDFs, they gave them, about 10,000 pages to go and sift through. I always find it funny looking at how that was handled. But scholarships. And what should go to the poor, the needy? Some people say they are Ghanaian, yes, but how does a CEO of a medical facility who is making so much money qualify when the ordinary Ghanaian scoring 93 in that aptitude test run by the same institution does not qualify? People who are ministers, members of parliament, well connected to those who walk the corridors of power, are getting these when ordinary people can't get them. One person's scholarship for a 2-week, 3-week program can take care of about 50, 60 students locally here for master's degrees. And somehow we're okay with that. But let's go to the very start. When you started unearthing this and where we are now.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. You said the behavior of the Secretariat to you is funny. I don't think it's funny at all. It's very regrettable, to say the least, that a public servant, you are serving the interests of the public, and you are supposed to be transparent and accountable. And when a law actually provide this information, and when they request it, you say, look, I'm going to give you hard copies. So they spend so much money to make hard copies and give that to the Fourth Estate. So that Fourth Estate should spend so much effort typing all this, converting the soft into hard and hard into soft. It is just absurd. I don't think that behavior should be encouraged at all. I think the Scholarship Secretariat should bow their head in shame. It's a disgraceful behavior, and they should desist from it. I thought maybe when I read it the first time, I thought real estate was rather Fourth Estate was rather asking for hard copies. So I was like, why did they ask for it? Then when I read the story further, I realized that no, they said they can only give. In fact, they even refused, and later on it came. Let me say that, Benjamin, when it came to my notice that was happening, how scholarships which were intended for gifted but needy students were being used by politicians, people in academia, senior journalists, and etc., I didn't believe it at all. But I just gave the team the benefit of the doubt and said, okay, go and have a look at it, and let's see what it is. I remember when even I saw the draft audit report, I couldn't believe it. I even reached out to the then Education Minister, Dr. Matthew Pugu Prempeh. Is that the name?
Yes, Dr. Matthew Pugu Prempeh.
Yes. I even reached out to him because I was doubtful that as a member of parliament, he took money which was meant for gifted but needy students.
Well, when he was asked of this, I think when moving to, he said he would do it again, given the opportunity.
Yes, I heard it. And I was like, what is wrong with our members of parliament? Somebody makes such a statement and you approve of him when he actually committed an illegality, from my point of view anyway. The point is this. Let me explain why I think it was an illegality. You may say that we differ in understanding who is gifted and needy. Granted. So we may take it that he is gifted and needy. So granted. But if you read the Gate Fund Act, Section 2B, it says that the money should be used to fund second cycle and tertiary education in Ghana. What about that? So the law has specifically demarcated the geographical space within which the money could be applied. So from my point of view, whether he was brilliant or whether he was gifted and needy or not, the money was meant for funding education here in Ghana. So you could not have used it to any other country. But then those who made the law were seated there. And he said if he got the opportunity, he would do it again. And they allowed it to slide. We may have to maybe get another explanation from them. I couldn't understand it. So this is what is happening. And if you heard me, remember I said that once there are no consequences for misbehavior, it will continue. One will have expected that when this was brought to the fore as a result of the audit report, it will have stopped. If you remember, in the audit report, one of our concerns was also that, according to the law, the money should be given to the scholarship secretariat for them to administer. But then Gate Fund was administering it themselves. That, I'm told, has changed. So the money has been given to the scholarship secretariat, who, from my point of view, 24/7 are administering scholarship. And if this is how they are administering scholarship, then Jesus Christ, our God, should help us. Then they are a complete waste. It's better we scrap it so that we don't have a system.
The leadership of the scholarship secretariat is a complete waste?
Complete waste. They are not just waste, they are useless. We shouldn't have...
Isn't that a bit harsh, referring to the leadership of the scholarship secretariat? Because
I wish I have a harsher word. I wish I have a harsher word for them. Because 24/7, that is what they do. And they have not been able to come out with any guidelines or something to determine who qualify for this, to ensure that they are within the remit of the law. I am not talking about the total money which went to them, because I don't know how much money they get from other sources. But the little which came from Gate Fund could not again be used for foreign trips or for foreign studies. If they were doing this, then they are more than useless from my point of view. Let me be honest.
How about the many thousands of others who got the scholarship? Yes, I do know. There are many people who tell you brilliant, needy, got there, didn't get it. There was someone who took an aptitude test, scored 93, conducted by the scholarship secretariat, still didn't get it.
Yeah.
Brilliant students who were on the list, and all of a sudden they were told, oh, MPs and ministers came and, protocol and all of that. So these brilliant and very needy students couldn't, continue with their studies. That is there. But how about the thousands of others who also get these scholarships, who are not politicians or whatever? Does that justify your use of, useless for the secretariat?
I am not saying that they are useless just because they give it to politicians. But whoever is not deserving it, who gets it, it's completely no. That is my point of view. That is all they do. Remember, if you are occupying a public office, you don't exercise discretion capriciously and anyhow. You must make sure that you are doing your work and you are objective in the delivery of your work. So today we should be able to look at least a guideline or a manual, which I think they could have formulated after consulting the various stakeholders, to say that, well, from our point of view, if you say you are gifted and needy, you must meet these conditions. Because how on earth can we say that the daughter of, the former Minister of Finance, is it a daughter or a son? And we were told...
I know whom you're referring to, right.
Yes. I'm told somebody also related to Honorable Fed. These are the gifted but needy.
But what if that person were not being, the assumption is that, but what if the person is technically not being catered for by this other person that is being referenced?
So we should use the resources to take care of people's irresponsibility. I am a father and I have responsibility for my children. If you are minded, Benjamin, I have 3 children that I could have gone and applied for scholarship secretariat for. They are all schooling. I could have applied for scholarship for them. I have not applied for any of them because I think it doesn't, in fact, it didn't even occur to me or doesn't even cross me that I should go there. So that is the point I'm making, that from my point of view, we've lost it. And I remember the gentleman again on one of your shows, I think Joy FM shows, was saying that because there is no law, he was exercising discretion.
Exactly.
Let's grant it that there is no law. Is he saying that the portion which came from Gate Fund, there is no law there?
Right.
The law clearly says that use it for needy but gifted students within Ghana, secondary and tertiary. So the courses they were attending in London, it's now London part of Ghana, New York, etc. They are all part of Ghana. My goodness.
He has also called for a scholarship act, that if we want this to be done right, we need an act to give guidance on it. What do you think about that?
Yes, I've also called for it. I think their discretion is not good. So we need a law which may have to detail out who qualifies and who does not qualify, and also require transparency. For instance, the law may need to tell us who gets it each year. There must be a compulsory disclosure every year, publishing so that we know who has received our money and who has not received it. And I think that is very necessary.
You know, this, if I were interacting with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante or any of my former political science lecturers, this would come to mind. One of the definitions of politics is who gets what, when, and how. And I guess in politics in Ghana, it shows clearly who gets what, when, and how. But let's, moving from talking about all of this, let's also talk about the SML bits and the KPMG report. Now we've been told clearly that Mr. President has taken, custody of the report by KPMG. The question is, what's happening to that report? At least we know per reports, like what happened to Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng's report, that if you're not careful, sometimes reports can be there. Some have suggested that there may be some parts of the report that that cast a not too positive light on the work of SML. But for you, the initial stages of SML, the fourth estate's work, the KPMG report, which we've not yet seen, and where we are now, what is your appreciation of the issue and what are your expectations?
Well, the minimum I expected was that immediately the report was ready, it should be made public. It should be made public. So, because you see, the accountability is not to president. It's to the people of Ghana. It is the public funds, people's money. So anytime that those reports are ready, they must be put into the public. I don't think it is for nothing that Section 23 of the Audit Service Act provides that the Auditor General should publish his report immediately as soon as he presents it to the Speaker. So immediately the Speaker receives the audit report, it is published. Because the accountability is not necessary to Parliament. They are just the representatives of the people. But the ultimate accountability is to the Ghanaians. So the Ghanaians must know. So if you have used taxpayers' money, mind you, taxpayers' money has been wasted or allegedly wasted. And now you use additional taxpayers' money to go and commission such an investigation. And the report comes out and you are keeping it in the cupboard. What is the use for it? So now it seems they are now thinking about how do we do the damage control so that people may not look too bad or to do what? The perception it brings is that we are trying to cover up. If I were the president or he is minded, he should just put that report into the public domain so we can all read and digest it and see whether it is good or it is not good.
Do you think there's something to be hidden? Having followed the story and these actions, do you think there's something being hidden?
Well, whenever you are administering a system and you are not transparent, you create opportunity for what? Speculations. And these speculations cannot be a positive. They are always negative. If you hide yourself in the room and you allow anybody to come, you won't talk to anybody, we think you are doing something bad. So your guess is as good as mine. I seriously think there is something fishy about what maybe is going on after the report was completed.
And all of this, talking about the legal trajectory of things and checking for corruption and all of that, all of this, as far as government is concerned, also falls at the doorstep or lands at the doorstep of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who should advise on some of these actions and inactions. How would you assess the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, not just tied to this, but also tied to the work of the OSP and tied to other happenings currently in our country? How would you assess the Attorney General?
Let me say that, again, when it comes to the office of the Attorney General, I am one of those who are of the considered opinion that they should decouple the Attorney General's office from that of the Minister of Justice. Because most of the times before the decision or the activity is commissioned, the Attorney General might have been part of it, sitting in cabinet, or maybe had given an advice, and the thing goes wrong. It becomes difficult and challenging for the Attorney General to go back and hold his colleagues accountable. Therefore, separating the Attorney General office from the office of the Minister of Justice, I think, is very necessary. Charity begins at home. So let me start from my end. As far as Auditor General is concerned, I think the Attorney General's office did not help us at all. There were several cases which we thought the Attorney General could come in and even file a suit or prosecute the people for us to get more information and deterrence in the system. But the Attorney General's office was quiet, to the extent that at a point in time, I wrote them to say that there is a provision under Section 27, I guess, I'm not too sure of the section, of the Public Financial Management Act, which requires that the Attorney General should produce each year a report giving the status update on how he has handled findings of the Auditor General with regard to the disallowance and surcharge. So I wrote them to say that I've been in office for some years now. I've not seen a copy of the report because the law says a copy should be sent to the Auditor General. If you go to Parliament, a copy to the Auditor General. So I wrote them that, can you share my copy with me because I've not seen what we have done so far. In other words, I was telling the Attorney General, you are sleeping. You are not doing what is expected of you. So I can say that the Attorney General's office is really in a situation where it's very difficult to do the best that he or she can do, especially when he combines the ministerial position, or we combine the ministerial position with that of the Attorney General. And that is bringing about what is happening.
My final bit to you, and I'll just put them together so we can cap off the conversation. One would have to do with DUMSO, or the erratic power situation. The Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, whom you just referenced, said that it was evil to even contemplate that, wishing evil for Ghana. But in recent times, stakeholders met, closed-door meeting, and in there was the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament and MP for Achime Buakwa South, Samuel Atachia. And he said, having had these discussions and come to that realization, he said there was the need for a load-shedding timetable to manage the situation, and that this had become inevitable as the players in the value chain found a solution or solutions to the crisis. What do you think about that? And what I want you to leave me with, I don't know what the power situation is where you find yourself. Do you think we're in DUMSO? Do you think we need a timetable? And finally, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, it's been 8 years. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you assess his governance? Those are the two questions I'll leave you with. Final thoughts.
Thank you again, Benjamin. It doesn't matter how far or how fast the energy minister would like to run away from it. We are in DUMSO. It doesn't matter how intelligent or wisely he would like to put it. When people don't get their lights, it is doomed. And when it comes back, it is so, isn't it? So we are in DUMSO. There's no question about that. And I thought that being a public servant again, he must be mindful of some of his utterances. I found it a bit unpleasant. You know, Napo is my very good friend. In fact, I call him my brother, actually. We date back several years. I found it a bit disturbing when he tells people that, he told people that bring your own load sharing scheme. I said, no, I think he should be joking. If he actually said that, he must be joking, because that is not acceptable. I think that the need to address the power situation is very critical, because it is energy or power that drives the economy. If this continues for some time, or after some time, we are going to ensure, we are going to face a lot of slowdown of productivity in the economy, and it will not be the best thing. So we must rather be forthright with ourselves and say, yes, the problem is here. It has come before and it was solved. Why don't we do the same? What are the solutions? What can we do to find a solution to it? So that is what my take on it is. You want me to rate the government. The rating does not go beyond the same 3 to 4 out of 10. Governance, when it comes to governance, it's not a matter of pride. It's not a matter of using arrogant words. I heard another minister somewhere, I think in Ashanti region, who was talking about let them show me what they started and completed. And so we are talking about your regime. We are not talking about the past. All that we do is we do negative benchmarking to say, look, the slabs that I'm giving you are not as hefty as what you used to receive in the past. So don't complain. No, that type of negative benchmarking, if Ghanaians wanted the past to continue, I think they could have retained their administration. So please, public servants, let's be humble. Let's reduce the level of arrogance that we show to people when they complain. Your job is to serve and just serve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel Yao Domelevo. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. We are very grateful that you took the time from where you are to join us on this conversation this morning. And we wish you the best of the day, sir.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. I wish you the best also. Thank you. Bye.
And that is former Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelevo, with whom I've been interacting over these last, couple of minutes. But coming up next, as part of the build-up to unveiling her vision for justice delivery in Ghana, I'm talking about the Chief Justice, dubbed Leading Justice. We'll look at this novelty and what it means for justice delivery, accountability, and the rule of law for the nation. We have that up next on the AM Show. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM Show, and it is all about leading justice, the latest move by the Chief Justice to basically share what her thoughts are on justice delivery and what her leadership will bring to bear as far as that is concerned. It will be happening today at the Accra International Conference Center, and we're going to be deliberating on that. It takes place, it starts at 9:30. The national broadcaster, GBC, will be picking that, and hopefully we may be able to bring you some snippets of that. But in the studio here, we have Sweetie Abochi, who knows, maybe a future Chief Justice herself.
Future President. I enjoyed that insightful conversation. Let it pass quickly.
I like how you're sidestepping.
I enjoyed that conversation. I was telling you that if Yao Domelevo was my lecturer, I'm sure I wouldn't enjoy the class very much.
Is it because of the 3 or 4 he was scoring?
3 or 4, 30 to 40 for the government, rated the judiciary, and then even the current Chief Justice.
Corruption, the fight.
Attorney General, and the fight against corruption.
I see.
But that was very insightful. And what stuck with me is the fact that he knows that he was chased out because he was being troublesome. Perhaps we need more, troublemakers in this country so that troublemakers in quotes, so that we can keep our leaders on their toes. But we're still staying in the judiciary because the Chief Justice is launching her vision for what this is. And we've been joined by some key stakeholders to get into a build-up, a conversation around what to expect. Professor Bafo Ajimandua is a UN governance advisor. Mr. Fai Money, who is the former GJA president. Xavier Kuje, PRO for the Ghana Bar Association. Those are our guests joining us via phone and Zoom for this conversation. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you join us for this conversation. Welcome.
Do we have Prof on the conversation? And please, gentlemen, please unmute. Yes. Okay, we have Prof. Do we have Afil Money? Mr. Money, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, and do we have Xavier Kuje?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, good to have you, Sweetie.
Yes, so Her Ladyship Justice Tokono is launching what she calls her vision to ensure efficient justice delivery for this country. I'd like to first take your initial thoughts on what you think this is. Let me start with Professor Bafo Ajimandua, who is a UN governance advisor. What are your initial thoughts on this initiative that is going to be launched in a few hours or minutes?
Thank you. I think it's a great initiative by the Chief Justice. It's an innovation. I don't think we have had such an opportunity in our republic. And in most other countries that I follow, this is seldom the case where Chief Justices have open forum to present their vision. I think this must be in direct response to recent attacks on the judiciary, and therefore his efforts to bring some kind of transparency and accountability which is good for our democracy. So I think my initial impression is that it's a wonderful move, and we are yet to see the details of exactly what she wants to share with the Ghanaian people. Because as you know, the judiciary being the third leg in our government, that is to say the three key institutions of governance, it needs to have the trust of the citizens. So if there's any attempt to undermine that trust, then it behooves the Chief Justice to find a way to quickly nip that in the bud. So I think this is a wonderful initiative.
Right. Let me now go to Afel Moni to give us his initial assessment or thoughts on this matter. Mr. Afel Moni.
Thank you. A local balance has it that the viability of the market is determined by early transactions. Contextually, the Chief Justice has opened up to the media, but never in the history of this country that the Chief Justice has met the judicial press for twice, 2 times on the trot. So the launch of today's initiative is a step in the right direction. It gives us hope that we have a Chief Justice who is as willing as ready to open up to the media, channel out more information. And information is a raw material. Once, it's like the oxygen we breathe in. So once information is available, I believe the media will be empowered to do justice to the professional matter.
Okay, PRO for Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Xavier Kuje. What do you think about this initiative soon to be launched? If you can hear me, please unmute. Okay, I don't think we have him on the phone yet. But let me ask Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah what this means for democracy if the judiciary is opening themselves up, or the Chief Justice is opening herself up for public scrutiny. Does this augur well for us as a democratic country?
Yes, on one hand, certainly, in terms of opening up for the public to know exactly what this branch of government does. At the same time, though, I will have to caution that the court cannot be as... let me be caught. I'm careful about what I'm going to say. Because, you see, the court is the final arbiter when there's a conflict in our governance. And therefore, it must always be seen to be neutral, to be non-partisan, and all that. That's why, traditionally, justices tend to exclude themselves from certain social and political events. That's to keep their so-called sanctity, so they don't get easily touched by the public. But at the same time, in a thriving democracy, as we have here in our country, it's important, especially when the public begins to raise critical questions about the neutrality of the court. It's important for the court to respond in such a way that they can rebuild the seeming decline of public trust in the institution. So as the Chief Justice is beginning to do this, at the same time, it's important for the court not to be overexposed. Because you see, when it becomes so normal and becomes so exposed, then of course, you're going to have more issues coming up. And I don't think the court has to function like the executive, where every now and then there's a press conference, you are responding, you are reacting to public sentiments. No. But I think if this is managed well, certainly, for me, it's an excellent innovation. But as I say, care should be taken by the court or the Chief Justice not to overexpose the institution.
Ben, where do we draw the line, Prof? You say care should be taken. Where do we draw the line?
It's simple. The Chief Justice, as my good friend Alfred Moni said earlier, can have occasional interaction with the media, where she can lay out certain critical issues facing the court, how they are responding to citizens' concerns and all that. I think once a year or so is appropriate. So when I talk about overexposure, I'm simply talking about a situation where every now and then the court reacts quickly, the Chief Justice herself in this case. Of course, they must have a very effective public relations office, communication office, where issues of public interest can be reacted to. But the point I'm making is that the justices themselves must not be overexposed. Of course, they can have their private lives, social lives, no, that's not the issue. But in the public domain, I think there must be some kind of, I don't know the word, but there should be some kind of caution that they don't get themselves overexposed. So whilst I'm applauding the initiative for bringing transparency in the administration of justice, which is very important, especially in the situation where the court has been on an attack lately, as all of us know, it's important for the court to begin to open up. It's best, I mean, that is good for our democracy, no doubt. But all I'm saying is that at the same time, caution must be exercised in terms of how the Chief Justice manages this initiative.
Prof, just hold for us. Let me also bring in Xavier Kluje, who is the PRO for the Ghana Bar Association. Is this basically what the Chief Justice is looking at? This opening up to ensure that even as she's talking about leading, what her policy framework or planning will be like as head of the judiciary, it's also an opening up to assessment from the general public. Is that what it is?
Well, I wouldn't say so because we are Ghana Bar Association. We may not have insight into what exactly is happening because it's today that when we get there, we get to know. But I think that by and large, it's a good initiative, as the earlier speakers have said, because this gives an indication of the fact that the Chief Justice is ready to be held accountable. Because once you're going to tell us about your vision, obviously you're going to tell us about policies that you're going to run, so that along the line, citizens can come up and say, we are marking you against your own things that you've told us you're going to do. At this point, you realize you are veering off your course or you're on course. And as Prof said, I would not sincerely expect the Chief Justice to be coming out very frequently. Maybe once in a while, he comes to give an update, but explaining what happened in court is not what I expect her to do, because that will be exposing the dealings and workings of the judiciary out there. Because court proceedings are guided by the rules and the laws, and once she feels she's within the law, I don't think that she should be explaining some of those things.
Well, technically not explaining what happens in court or on a case-by-case basis or anything of that matter. I don't think that was what Prof was suggesting. He was just saying that this is a bit of an opening up. Afeomoni just suggested that this is the second time in a row. This doesn't usually happen. Last week, Kweku Asante, our court correspondent, had a few questions for her. But in terms of this engagement, what do you think it does? The judiciary has suffered from a malaise of perception, negative perception, on different counts. This morning I was interacting with the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, and he also had his own concerns about certain actions of the judiciary. Do you think with what we are going to see today, likely it will help start with the cure to that perception and maybe moving forward with the Chief Justice's engagements, deal with that negative perception that has bedeviled the judiciary?
I think it should, because over the years, probably people may have understood the workings of the judiciary. I am one person who has always held the view that there should be conscious attempts and effort to educate the public on the workings of the adjudication process. So by doing this, as I said, it will bring to the fore some resemblance of transparency and accountability on the part of the judiciary headed by the Chief Justice. So it may result in what I would call a rebuilding of confidence in the judicial process.
Let me come to Afeomoni now. With all of this, obviously, the media also stands to benefit because then we get more information. That is our fodder. That is our raw material, like you said. And then we're able to inform the public. Do you think this bridges the gap even further between the judiciary on the one hand and the media on the other?
Certainly, this is a progressive trajectory which you encourage Chief Justice to assent. I made reference to the meeting with the Parliamentary Judicial Press Corps on 2 occasions. And before that, 2 years ago, we had a meeting with the judiciary. I was the only journalist among them. And ask me all the questions about the media perception about the judiciary. I was candid to give them the opinion, and they also explained certain factors tended to paint the judiciary in a certain light. So I believe today's initiative will better.
Unfortunately, Mr. Mone, it's really difficult hearing you. All of what you've said it has come through in a bit of a patchy way. I'll just beg of you to start again, if it's possible.
Yeah, what I said was that before this initiative, or before her meeting with the judicial press corps on 2 occasions, unprecedented in the history of this country, the UNESCO organized a meeting with the judiciary and the media. Happened to be the only journalists among them in 2 years ago, and they sought to find out the media or the public's misperception about the judiciary. And I was candid enough to tell them what accounted for those misperceptions or perceptions. So today's initiative by the Chief Justice will further open up and try to bridge the gap, try to bring us on board to get a deeper insight into what the judiciary does and what informs the actions and inactions. Whatever the judiciary does, can serve as a magnet to attract other positive or negative publicity. And from the media background, we thrive on negative publicity. Instead of the unusual is the news, because what is usual is not newsworthy, but unusual is the news. So if the judiciary opaque, try to stick to the opaque system tangents of operations, then we'll also be inclined to go after them. But this initiative, once again, we applaud it at the highest level, and expect the judiciary to also see where we are coming from. And for instance, I know they frown on prejudicial publicity in the media. And we also have a contrary opinion, because we believe that the public depend on us for information in every area of national life. And judiciary is not an exception. They be operating in a kind of in a system which shields them from public scrutiny. And by virtue of what we do, we should be seen to be more scrutinous than ever before, especially the judiciary. So anything which will help us to at least bring us on board, be on the same page, I believe we should encourage to the hills.
Right, but let me bring back Xavier Kuje into this at this point. The whole point of this initiative, they say, is to ensure efficient justice delivery system. What gaps exist in the current delivery system that you think has necessitated this, or what are you looking forward to that would be addressed in this or with this initiative?
Well, the one major thing that I would expect her to talk about is how she's going to deal with the backlog of cases that we've had all this year. And I believe that is why she introduced the piloting of the shift system, which suggests to me that, of course, she needs to do recruitment of more judges, because when she's talking about shift system, I don't see it to be the same judge working in the morning and working in the afternoon. For me, that does not amount to a shift system. That means that the person is just taking a break. So that is one major thing I think that I would expect her to talk about, and probably maybe arrange a situation where the NCC together with some judicial staff or some other people can educate the public on the workings of the court, especially the adjudication process. Because all these attacks that we hear, people go to the courtrooms while the court sessions are in place, is simply because they lack understanding of the adjudication process.
Do you think we might be getting a digitized judiciary delivery system?
It's possible, because last vacation, for instance, we did vacation work using Steam. So we use Teams to do vacation work. So I expect a situation where at least a certain percentage of work will have to be done digitally. Then we finally get to the point where we will not do manual work again. As the Ghana Bar Association, that's the way we started. So now our processes as Ghana Bar Association have all been digitalized. You sit in your office within 2 minutes to get your license or whatever you want, provided you the required payment.
There's also been talk, before I go back to Prof, there's also been talk, Mr. Kluje, of devolving some of the higher courts, for example, the High Court, in certain areas, regions, if you like, to serve different places, so that the whole bit about coming to Accra or other zones is diminished. What would your expectations be on that?
Well, I think that for High Courts, we need a lot more of them instead, because the High Court is the only court that has jurisdiction in all matters, both civil and criminal. And if you remember, during the reign of the immediate past Chief Justice, a lot more courts have been opened. I think what we should be centralizing rather is the appellate system, the Court of Appeal system. That was done immediately before the previous Chief Justice leaving office, to the extent that he was of the view that let's have 2 permanent Court of Appeals, one in Accra, one in Ashanti region, Kumasi. So we have permanent courts now, because they used to do some regional Court of Appeals, but it was too expensive to maintain, because some of the work there did not really require permanent courts. But I can see my lady Chief Justice now wants to go back to that system. I believe that she has good reasons why she wants to go back to some of the regions having Court of Appeals today.
Prof, now coming back to you, of course, there's the talk about the vision of the Chief Justice, what she hopes to achieve with all of this. The fine print we do not know. Even Solomon Kluje says he doesn't know. It will take the Chief Justice herself to walk us through that. But how much do you think what she's going to do today, which is a bit of a novelty in itself, will contribute to the delivery of justice and bringing the judiciary closer to the Ghanaian, the ordinary Ghanaian?
Yes, it's a novelty. It's a wonderful novelty, I should say. But you see, Xavier, Mr. Kluse just mentioned an important point. The attempts to decentralize the administration of justice in the country. And I think that should be one of the key areas the Chief Justice should be looking at, especially when the issue of burdening the courts in Accra and backlogs and all that. You see, our system of governance is so much centralized that a crime in Bolga or Sunyani or Ho anywhere travels all the way to the desk of the Attorney General for his review and approval before prosecution takes place. Not in all cases. I'm talking about a certain category of cases which seem to be quite dominant in our society. That over-centralization must be looked at, because most of the delays come as a result of the inability of the Attorney General's office to quickly review these many cases that come on his desk. And I can't understand why, at least at the regional levels, some cases cannot be dealt with by the regional attorneys, if you have any. You see, I think that will help to ease the pressure on these high courts in the country. So that's one of the things. And I think the Attorney General, the Chief Justice attempt, as they are employing or engaging more justices, which I believe is the right thing to do, it must also be there must also be an effort to talking about the education that my good friend mentioned, how we get society to understand the workings of the court. Well, in our days, there was a course called civics in our schools, where even at the elementary school level, you are introduced to the workings of government, so that as you grow up, you are aware of how the government works. And talking about the working of governments, all these 3 key branches of government will be dealt with, so that at least at the fundamental level, citizens are aware of the workings of government, including the workings of the court. So again, I'm raising an issue about our educational system that seems to have relegated some of the critical issues for citizenship out of the curriculum. We don't teach our kids that. So all these are efforts. I know it's a long-term thing. So this attempt by the Chief Justice to open up is an excellent move. But I'm suggesting that there are other areas as a nation, if you want our democracy to continue to thrive in a better way, then of course, citizens' education is a must, should be part of our preparation of our young people into our system. So overall, I think we can be happy with this initiative, but as I keep saying, it depends on how the Chief Justice manages this initiative. And then one final point I should make here, Ben, is that I know the president is going to inaugurate this, and my first reaction to that was, why should the president be the one to inaugurate it? At best, he could go there as a special guest and make remarks, because again, we're talking about the balance of power, division of power, and all these three agencies, of course, they're supposed to be independent and all that. Of course, they work together also, I recognize that. But I think the dominance of the executive in our system must be mitigated in a way so that it's not like the president who is launching this. Actually, is the Chief Justice initiative, it's not the president's initiative. Because if it were the president's initiatives, then we will reinforce this notion that we have a very dominant executive in our democratic system or governance system, and that's not what we want.
You know, it just feeds into the very next question I had, because I was going to ask how this will also impact the working of the judiciary vis-a-vis politicians. But then again, you have the president with a list of 20 for the Court of Appeal. Some would read into that and say, well, it is what it is, and we'll take it from there. But in essence, is this going to foster even more collaboration between the purely political elements versus or vis-a-vis the judiciary? And then we shall take your final comments, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Prof.
Yes, I'm not too worried about the fact that the president is appointing many justices. It is his job to appoint them when there's a vacancy. And in every country, democratic country, is the president who have made these kinds of appointments at the highest levels. And of course, people might think that because President A appointed this justice, certainly is going to toe the president's line. I don't think it works that way. First of all, let us recognize that our system, our judiciary system, has very, very brilliant brains. Those I know, and they are people with high integrity, no doubt. And I think they will act professionally. Of course, there are instances where certain decisions are perceived by the public to be tainted by a political lenses. And I recognize that. And you find that across board in all the democratic societies. But I think the president is doing his job. And whether we attach politics to it or not depends on the behavior of the justices. And I think this initiative today, in a way, is responding to that. I suspect strongly that this was a collective decision of our justices on the Supreme Court and others who have realized the bad publicity they are getting, the latest attacks on the judiciary, who therefore want to find a way to mitigate that and to begin to rebuild the trust that they need to have. Because when the judiciary loses the trust of the public, then we're in danger. Because as I said earlier, they are the final arbiters. So we have to keep a very decent judiciary with high integrity. So if they have realized this and they are combating it through this initiative, then I'm happy for them. But as I said, we have very good people on the judiciary, despite what people might think. They are very brilliant, they have high integrity, and we should expect them to behave as such. That's why at times we all get worried when judicial decisions appear to have been biased in one way or the other. And I think they are taking a cue from the recent backlash from the public to rectify the situation. So I think by and large, we are not doing badly, and I'm happy the Chief Justice coming up with.
Sweetie, you know, it's interesting because this brings to mind Justice Bafo Boni from way back when and his appointment, onto the Supreme Court. And then the election petition of 2012 and how some people felt. I've heard people from this current fraternity talk about the fact that, why did he, because it was his vote that tilted in favor of former President Mahama then. My My only concern then is when you have elements who have served within a certain administration, who have shown some, I don't know whether to call it partisanship, but who have showed to lean towards a certain end. What happens in this instance when it comes to being given such platforms, being justices? And there are the superior courts of judicature, including the High Courts, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. These are courts that can basically determine, make or break you. So it's just an interesting thought. But maybe we can take the final comments from the rest of our guests.
Before we take the final thoughts, I want to ask Xavier Kuje, how significant is it? Prof was just saying that, it's because it's the Chief Justice's vision, the President really shouldn't be the one inaugurating this. But how significant is this, seeing that, or considering our current modalities for checks and balances between the judiciary and the executive? How significant is it that the President is the one launching this for the Chief Justice?
Well, for me, I don't see an issue, but personally, I would have avoided that because this is purely head of judiciary laying out her policy or vision. So I believe that she could have done it without the involvement of the president. If that's the choice, why not? Nobody can fault her for that.
Right. Then you can follow through with your final thoughts, and then we can wrap it up.
Well, I would say that about the appointments to the bench, let us all get it clear. The president does not do the appointment. He does the appointment, the recommendations come from elsewhere. There are three parties involved: the Attorney General, the Ghana Bar Association, and the judiciary. They bring up candidates, and the candidates are presented to the Judicial Council, who then advises the president to make the appointment. But the president has the right to say that the list you've given me, I will not go by, but he doesn't have the right to prepare his own list. So let's get it right. And I'm sure that before judges are
Mr. Kluje, I don't think those facts are not lost on us. We know the processes. It was just that whether like it or not, the word appointment is used, though it comes from elsewhere before it gets to him, and then he also forwards. It's not as though we weren't aware of the process.
Very well. So what I want to say is that the number of judges appointed depends on the vacancies and the workload. I must admit that education has come around so fast that many more cases are getting to our court. And because many more cases are getting to our court, many more decisions too are going on appeal, even to the level of the Supreme Court. So definitely there will be the need to appoint more judges. And as I said, if there's no work to be done, no judges will be appointed. So we should all support the system and encourage the system to work. And I believe that anybody who gets to the bench has a lot of things to do by way of integrity. Because if you are not a person of integrity, that's not a place for you. For the appointment, it can be made, but a lot depends on the individual judge.
You wanted to go back to Prof before we wrapped it up?
Maybe Afilmoni, and then I'll wrap up with Prof.
Okay, so Afilmoni, if you're still with us, what are your final thoughts on this conversation?
Ghana is touted as a beacon of democratic accomplishments in Africa and rule of law. And we are told that a very critical element of rule of law is confidence in the law. I'm disinclined to believe that confidence in the law is on the wane. But the fact is that...
Did you just say you were disinclined to believe? I just want to get clear what you're saying.
I believe that confidence in the law is on the wane. But all the same, we have a long way to go to inject the highest dose of confidence in the law, because many people know Ghana is a country of extreme partisanship. Many are those who refract everything in partisan lenses. But the fact is that we still have a long way to go to get people to fully understand the workings of the judiciary and to garner the necessary confidence in the judiciary. That's way, I believe, to help in national development in all dimensions. Kudos to the judiciary once again, and I'll go ahead to even suggest that we copy the US example. US has guidelines between the bench, among the bench, judiciary, and the media. And this was crafted as far back in 1987. So we can, in the name of cultural borrowing, we can copy from this example so that the media and the judiciary will be on the same page as much as possible. So once you get the media on board, giving the power of the media to shape or misshape public opinion, I believe it will help in the cause the Chief Justice in the whole country.
Afilmoni, we're grateful for your time. Mr. Kujah, we are grateful for your time as well. I'll wrap with Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah on this simple point, though. It's interesting. The Kufuor Foundation, what has it been up to, and what's the latest you can share with us right before we go?
This question takes me off guard. The Kufuor Foundation is a private entity supporting leadership development in the country. I've been working on it for the past 10 years. Maybe it's about time I look elsewhere. But for now, it's been very successful in preparing young people through the program that we have. We call the Kufuor Scholars Program, one of a kind on the continent. We do all kinds of things every year. We admit 30 students from across all universities and we prepare them for 3 years. So it's been a very successful program. And the president is keen on getting this program going. So overall, this is it. It has nothing to do with the politics. Some people think it's a political think tank. It is not. It's an independent, private, non-governmental organization. And that's the way the president, former president, wants it to be. So far, it's been good. We don't meddle in politics. When I come public to say things, I say it in my own capacity as an old guy on the block. So I don't speak for the president. I don't speak for the foundation. I speak for myself.
Well, thank you, Prof.
But Benjamin, I watched the interview. Oh, thank you so much, Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah, who is UN Governance Advisor. We also spoke to Afilmoni, the former GJA president, and Xavier Kujah, PRO, for the Ghana Bar Association. But right before we go, I wanted to ask Benjamin, part of the things she said during the interview was that the court in Kumasi there's been some updates so they can better handle cases from the 5 northern regions. And I'm wondering, is this something that, sheds light into what to expect? Or is it digitization? Give me a sense of what you think is going to happen to our judiciary.
Well, you cannot tell for certain. The Chief Justice will have to spell out. You realize that even the PRO couldn't say for certain what the Chief Justice was going to share her thoughts on. Definitely some of these will come in, decentralizing the administration of justice. And we've seen from the trajectory of the courts of appeal and the broader perspective that we're trying to get. Obviously, it means then that there'll be more decentralization and hopefully the administration of justice will be swifter. You know what they say, justice delayed is justice denied. But we'll have to wait for the Chief Justice to find out what exactly specifically she'll be dealing with over the next few months, year, 5 years, whatever. I mean, looking at her age versus what the real work that must be done. So we'll just wait for her to speak. And then after that, we can dissect what she has said.
Yeah. Right. So that's the end for this belt of the conversation. But we have an interview coming up with Cytotech on Nitro Mix. Stay for that. Details right after. Welcome back. Now, before I introduce my guest, I want to make that correction. I said Cytotech. Cytotech is a drug for women. This is actually Phytotech, and they produce Nitro MX. The last time they were in the studio, we had a great conversation with Benjamin on blood circulation. Today, we're going to focus more on cognitive function. But welcome to the studio, Dr. Reuben Teteagbo, who is a medical consultant at Phytotech.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, it's good to see you again.
Yes, it's good to see you too. And you are looking sweet, just like your name.
Thank you. Right, so just before we proceed into today's conversation, can you give us a recap of what blood circulation is and how Nitro MX helps?
All right, okay. So last week, I just want to greet everyone who is watching us from Phytotech Limited. Last time when I came over here, we wanted to know about good blood circulation and why we are producing Nitro MX. But today, I just want us to know that if you are having a good blood circulation, it means that all the body parts in the system are able to get the right nutrients, they are able to get the right blood, they are able to get the oxygen that they needed so that they will be able to function at its optimum. Now, if you're having poor blood circulation, it means that there are factors that are disrupting these circulatory processes that you have. And if you have all these things disrupting, and then you are not able to get the cells in function, or you are not able to get the right nutrients and then the oxygen to all the body parts of the system, it means that there will be a problem. So what are the body parts? You have the eye over there, you have the manhood, that is the penis, you have the vagina over there, you have your brain over there, you have the ears over there, you have your heart itself, and then the lungs and other stuff. Now, all these body parts needs blood in order to function very well. It needs oxygen to function very well. Now, when there are factors that are disrupting it from functioning very well or from letting the blood to get to all these parts of the body, it means that you are having poor blood circulation. And most of the disease that can cause this is hypertension or other cardiovascular systems. So that is why, or other cardiovascular diseases, and that is why we are talking about poor blood circulation. Sweetie, I just want to add, if you're having poor blood circulation, it's very bad. If you're having poor blood circulation, these are some of the things that you can be having. Your brain wouldn't be functioning very well. That is a poor cognitive functioning. Now, your manhood, that is erectile dysfunction, there will be a problem. Even your vagina area, there will be a problem. How you even listen, there will be a problem. Even how you perform in school, there will be a problem. So that is the poor blood circulation, and then there are other symptoms that you can be able to have if you are having poor blood circulation.
And of course, blood circulation is essential for cognitive function.
Exactly.
So let's get into that one right
All
away.
right, okay.
When you talk about poor cognitive function, what is it? What accounts for it? Before we talk about how NitroMX can fix that.
All right, okay. So when we are talking about poor cognitive function, it's just the decline or the impairment of how the brain functions. What is the brain supposed to do? The brain is supposed to think, it's supposed to do remembrance, the brain is supposed to reason and everything. Now, if there's a decline in how you reason, how you think, how you talk, how you do things, it means that you are having poor cognitive function or poor brain function. Now, this poor brain function, it means that if you are linking up to the poor circulatory system, it means that this body part, that is the brain, is not able to have enough blood supplying to the brain. So now you're not having enough blood, you're not having enough oxygen and all the other nutrients in order for the brain to function very well. So now this is what will happen. When it comes to concentration in school or at business or anything you are doing, it is poor. When it comes to memory, how to recall things back or how to even bring the past event into memory, there will be a problem. Even how to reason, there will be a problem. Even how to talk, communication, or adapt to new things, there will be a problem. That is the poor cognitive function. It means that there's a decline or there's an impairment when it comes to how the brain functions.
Which is also linked to blood circulation.
Which is also linked to blood circulation.
Which is where NitroMX comes in.
Exactly.
Tell me how NitroMX fixes poor cognitive function.
All right, so Phytotech Limited realized that if you're having poor blood circulation, there will be a major problem in the system. And that is why we as Phytotech wanted to come out with a herbal pharmaceutical product that will be able to function very well in improving blood circulation. Now, this is what NitroMX does. NitroMX basically will relax the blood vessels so that blood will be able to move straight to the brain parts. So that is what it does. Because we do not have much time, I just want us to talk about one particular plant material that is being used in NitroMX that helps in the poor cognitive function. One of the plant material that we use is Mundia vitae. In local, we call it Kraman Koti. That does not mean that when you go and get Kraman Koti and then you use it to be able to function very well for you. This is a pharmaceutical company, and we know the process that it goes through in order for you to have a therapeutic function when you are taking that plant material. So we have that plant material in the NitroMX. What it does is this. Number one, it has nitric oxide in there, or it helps the body to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide will relax the blood vessels. Blood is able to flow very well to your brain parts. So if you are a child above 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, and above, 50 years and everything, you can use NitroMX because it contains that Mundia vitae. Now, it has adaptogen activity as well. It means that it's able to control stress. So if you are having a lot of stress in the body, your brain is not able to function very well. Now, what it also does, it has neuroprotective activity as well. So you have neurons all around your brain. Now, this NitroMX helps to protect the brain cells so that it wouldn't damage, because you are not getting enough blood supply to the brain. So this is what Nitro MS does, basically in improving blood circulation so that your brain will be able to function very well.
And this is herbal, you say?
Yes, this is herbal.
Okay.
Yeah, you can actually open. This is herbal.
So how do you get Nitro MX?
All right, okay. So where you can get Nitro MS, in all the big pharmaceutical shops in Ghana, you can get Nitro MS. Even when you come to multimedia over here, we have Health Embassy, you can get Nitro MS over there. When you go to East Cantonment Pharmacy, you can get Nitro MS over there. When you go to Topper Pharmacy, you can get Nitro MS over there. When you go to Unicom, you can get Nitro MS over there. You can get Nitro MS from anywhere that you want to get Nitro MS from, mostly from the pharmaceutical companies or from the pharmaceutical outlets. Now, if you are not getting Nitro MS, what you can do, or you even have more questions concerning Nitro MS and how it works and then how to improve your cognitive function, then you can call us on 024-649-0116. 024-649-0116. When you call us, we'll be able to interact with you better so that you'll be able to understand how Nitro MS can help in improving your blood circulation in terms of your cognitive function. And I must say this, old people can use it. You know, when you are growing old, now you have dementia, most often your brain is not able to function very well. So old people can use it. Students, majority of the students can also use this. If you are above 12 years, you can actually use Nitro MS. Now, young people, young men, young women can actually use Nitro MS. So it's for everyone.
Including pregnant women?
No. So in pregnant women, no. Okay. And then lactating mothers, no.
Right.
But if you are 12 years and above, you can actually use Nitro MS. And this is a product that I use every day.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a product that I use every day.
So I can use it too?
Oh, yes.
I just want Ben to understand that I can use it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so when it comes to cognitive function, you can use it because the work that you do, you really have to get your brain functioning very well.
Right.
So that is when you can use the Nitro MS.
Okay, so young children from
children 12 years
and above,
you can use.
Women, men, everyone can use Nitro
old
MS.
People, yes, everybody can use this in order to improve your memory.
Thank you. And so this is Phytotech and their new product, new medicine, Nitro MX, that helps with blood circulation. It's herbal, 100% herbal. And your final words.
All right, okay. My final words is this. If, in case you have forgotten the number, I just want to mention it again.
Okay.
So 024-649-0116. 024-649-0116. Today, we spoke about cognitive function and how best you can improve that. Next time when I meet you again, we are going to look at erectile dysfunction. How you can get your erection on point using Nitro MX.
Thank you very much.
Right.
And this is approved by the FDA?
By FDA. It has been in the system for some time.
How long?
So for the past 3 to 4 years,
right,
we have had Nitro MS over there.
Okay. So if you want to improve your blood circulation, do get yourself Nitro MX for everything from cognitive function to erectile function.
Yes, exactly.
Just, help you keep healthy. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruben Teteagbo, who is a medical consultant at Phytotech. Now, Benjamin and I will be back in a few minutes to wrap this up. How's your Monday going so far? We'll be right back. Why are you so happy that you have Phytotech? Phytotech. Guys, thank you for staying with us. At this point, we open our phone lines for you to have your say. The numbers are on your screen, 030-221-1691. You can see Benjamin happily smiling because he's got 2
Oh, it's because I have got my
Nitro Mix, MX.
Nitro MX. Yeah, Nitro MX. It actually works. It does a good job.
It for a while.
Together with Prostat 60. Yeah. So I was just having an interaction with Doc on these, and you should be asking her why she has a pack of 2, what she's going to do with it. But it improves blood circulation.
Right.
It's really good.
For me, I want this for cognitive function. I don't know what Benjamin is going to use it
cognitive
for.
function.
But please call us.
No, I mean, we're all using it for cognitive function.
Really?
But it improves blood circulation. If your blood isn't circulating properly, I mean, you know what that does to you. Yeah. But it's just, should I tell them why you took those 2?
Benjamin?
Anyway, we'd love to hear from you, 0302-211-691. We've spoken about a number of issues this morning. We've had former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo. We had that other conversation on the judiciary in here. What are your thoughts for us? This is where you get to call and share your thoughts before we wrap on the show. So guess what? Dial. We're waiting. For you, what would be the highlight today?
The conversation with Domelevo. Aside the ratings, he was very vocal about some of the issues he dealt with as a former Attorney General and doing some comparison to what the current Godfrey Dame is doing in his place. But we have a call on the line.
Of course, him as Auditor General and now Attorney General.
Yes.
Godfrey Dame.
Yeah. Hi, William from Tema. Thanks for joining us. What's on your mind this morning?
Yeah, Benjamin. Good morning once again.
Good morning. That was actually Sweetie addressing you. But yes, let's hear from you.
Okay. I want to contribute a little about Mr. Domelevo.
Right.
Submissions we made this morning. And what it is, you see, high towers and institutions or buildings does not solve problems. But when you put the proper measures in place for the people who are working with the law, it will work. You can't just go and put up buildings when there is nothing in the building, as a matter of fact, to help to fight the menace that is going on. This is what I have to say this morning.
Okay, so for you, basically, it's not just about the institutions. It's about what we do with them, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, William, for calling.
And how much is the medicine, too?
Okay, so we'll have to check on that. Can we do a quick check, team in the background? How much does it cost Nitro MX? Someone wants to find out. Maybe we could just get that information to you as and when we get it. But you can also call through. Thank you, William, for calling. You can also call through and share your thoughts. 0302-211-691. We have a caller from Tamale, Kasule. Is it Kasule?
Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Your quick thoughts for us?
I enjoyed the conversation you had with the former Auditor General.
Mm.
But I got disappointed when he made one point. He said we have moved from taxation to robbery.
To robbery.
And he mentioned a number of taxes. I was waiting to hear from him whether those taxes are lawful or unlawful. But I didn't hear that explanation. And you didn't also help us by asking him what made those taxes robbery.
Well, I actually asked him about why. I had him reiterate, but you can put it in this perspective. Robbery is illegal, right?
Yes, please.
It's a crime, right?
Yes.
So if he's suggesting that we've moved from taxation to robbery, what do you think he's saying? I think the answer is in there. That's why I didn't probe further. But yes, maybe we could have gone further, dug into it.
Right. But we have another caller, Isaac from Tema. Isaac, good to have you join the conversation. What's up?
Good morning. How are you doing?
We're great. Thank you.
Greetings your panel and all the viewers.
Right.
Yeah, this morning I want to contribute. I listened to former Auditor General. And if we see, we are living in a country whereby our leaders are not trying to be truthful to the citizens, and very unfortunate. I only want to touch on the power energy, the power crisis that we are facing in this country. We were in this country whereby the former administration were backlash with this energy crisis. And the same administrators that we find ourselves today, they were saying so many things regarding to the power crisis that we were having in this country. Today, what we see, what Ghanaians are facing is very terrible as we speak. And I dare want to put our arms without saying anything to them. If we could remember, the same minister who was telling Ghanaians to produce our own timetable, he is the one leading member who was leading the Domelevo demonstration at Kumasi. By then I was transferred to Kumasi, so I know exactly what I'm saying, what I saw over there. And today they are telling Ghanaians to keep our mouth shut. That's what they are telling us. And still they are blaming the predecessors. Former President Kufuor told us, I want to entreat all Ghanaians to look at what is happening currently in this country. And remember what the former president said to us. Good morning to Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I guess the saying actually was I guess that was the end of it. But here we are. Lots of comments. I don't think this handling of the energy situation is apt. I don't know who is advising whom, but I think what Samuel Atachia has said
that
is
it's
apt.
imminent now. That
It's inevitable. That's what he said. And I don't know why those in the sector, including the ECG, including the energy minister, can't see that. But I think we have another caller on the line.
do we? But even before we usher in the next caller, the drug, Nitro MX, is between 40 to 50 cedis.
Yeah.
So that's the price. There's a last caller on the
40 to
line.
50 cedis.
Hello, good morning.
Hello,
What's your name?
I'm Reverend Nelson Eko.
Hi, Reverend Nelson Eko. What's on your mind this morning?
Yes, I wanted to ask the contact of Faustina Safo, the newscaster who casted the news yesterday, Sunday, on Joy News at 1.
We'll talk to you back door in the control room. They'll handle that for you. But I think that's all the time we have to interact with you, regular Kojuls and Amas on the show, like Benjamin liked to say. It's the end of the Monday edition of the show. But before I go, I want to wish a happy birthday to Ronald Tego of M Notify, CEO of M Notify. Happy birthday, Ronald. I wish you many, many, many blessings and plenty money. Enjoy. Benjamin?
You nearly got into trouble, huh?
Yeah.
You nearly forgot.
Yeah,
You nearly
I nearly
slipped your
forgot.
mind. Anyway, have a good morning and a wonderful day. Catch you tomorrow.